Fan.
A crisp Monday morning to you. Good morning. My name is Jake Query. Kevin Bowen here as well. Mark Dykton running the big board. This is Kevin and Query on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Starting out the week, and I thought they were going to shock the world, Kevin. 7-0. Pittsburgh got out to the lead. I thought, here we go.
Yeah, terrible towels were a-waving for Jake Query
Nostradamus, baby. No, you pretty much knew that was going to be the case. But a good weekend of football in general that we will talk plenty about. There's a lot to get to today, including all of the games. But first off, good weekend for you?
Yeah, it was nice. You know, obviously I think I speak for both of us from a listening standpoint. We'd much rather have the Colts playing into the playoffs at some degree. But at the same time, it was nice yesterday just kind of kick up the feet and purely watch football on 95% of an entertainment basis, and same thing on Saturday. So, yeah. How about you?
Yeah, it was good. So I am, as we've talked about, I had some assignments due, Kevin.
Oh, yeah.
Midnight on Sunday night.
Wow, that's early in the semester.
I know. So I am going back and finishing, or at least attempting to, my degree from IU because I left IU short. I'm 6'4", but I was short in terms of the credits. And so I am now kind of partnering with Indiana to let people know that this is a possibility. It's never too late, if you will, to go back to school. But I will admit to the fact that it is a steep learning curve for a 49-year-old to figure out all of the online navigation in terms of some of the different applications I've got to use. So I spent a lot of time this weekend just kind of familiarizing myself with all of that stuff and doing a couple of assignments, which the assignments were kind of cool. But I did it with football on kind of in the background, so it was fun to, there's something about just wintertime in general in January and coming off of the holidays and watching games taking place where it's cold and everybody's bundled up. I mean, there's a nostalgic feeling about it. And for the most part, all of the games, with the exception of obviously Dallas and Tampa, but 3 of the 5 games, people bundled up. And I mean, that was John Facenda, good old-fashioned football, right?
And if you're Colts fans, talk about Saturday night. You couldn't have asked for a better script with New England getting their ass kicked in Western New York. Now, I do have a question. You going back to school. Mm-hmm. I typically remember the first week of school, syllabus week was often a big party week. So were you...
Yeah, it was cool. There were a couple of other people in the same situation as I. I went down to the American Heritage Nursing Home. We threw back a little Metamucil.
Gotcha. Nice.
One guy brought in a couple protein shakes. Yeah, we were good to go.
There you go.
You know what? It's funny on the online stuff because you're really on your own schedule, right? And so everything's due at 11:59 on Sunday night. And so around 8:30 last night, I cracked open the computer and thought, all right, let's go.
There you go.
Start doing some stuff. But no, right now, originally I was scheduled for an introduction to broadcast journalism class. And then I met with an advisor on Friday through IU who was wonderful. And she was like, actually, what you need is this, this level. I'm basically just picking up electives all over the place. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking a public relations class.
Nice.
And a music theory class. So I've been sitting around listening to Led Zeppelin all weekend. Hey, I'm studying here.
So if you were the head of the Dallas Cowboys public relations department, your spin cycle on what happened there to end the game?
My spin cycle would be 2 things. Number 1, on the fake punt, we called up Chuck Pagano, and we really thought that we had something up our sleeve once we converted on a fake punt and then kept everybody out in a weird formation and tried to force San Francisco into a timeout. And then instead they got to delay a game. Totally moronic. And then late in the game, how do you do that, Kevin? I mean, look, the quarterback draw is one thing, but then to not have the presence of mind of what to do to get the clock stopped in that situation is embarrassing, right?
Settle down just a little bit.
Yes, thank you, Jerry, for that. We'll have Jeff Saturday on, as we usually do every Monday here. He's going to join us at his normal time slot of 8 o'clock. And something I want to ask him, I saw yesterday, you remember the name Jacob Tamme, right?
Yes. Tight end, right?
Yeah, Jacob Tamme, a tight end during the Peyton years. And Tamme tweeted Tom Moore's number 1 rule of the 2-minute drill. And Tammy's like, I heard it 70,000 times in my career, is at the end of every play, you take that football and you go right to the official. Because you know that guy has got to touch the ball in order for the next play to be snapped. And Dallas and McCarthy have the game. Oh, we drilled this in practice every day. Jake, I've been fortunate to go to a lot of NFL practices. The officials are usually not there, particularly during the regular season. So if you are Prescott, who slid obviously on the play, you probably more than ever know that official's got to touch the ball. So as much as I put, yes, idiotic play call, Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy on the headset, whatever, Dak's got to know in that situation. As soon as you slide, you keep that ball with you and you find that official. And so then it's not the chaotic scene of, oh, I'm bumping into people like we're going through the airport here.
Right. I mean, I don't know, Kevin. You would think, and I get it. I mean, when hell breaks loose, right? And I think I told you, I know I've mentioned this 1,000 times, but the thing to me that's the most fascinating aspect of sports about quote-unquote clutch play is that it's not that some players elevate their game in closing moments. It's that while others tighten up or just their mind gets clouded by the chaos around them, some guys just have the presence of mind to just block it all out and continue as if it's the first quarter in Cleveland in September.
Right.
And I think it's very easy for us to look at that and say, well, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys had no game plan and didn't know what they were doing. But it's probably more likely that they do, but just the chaos of the moment. I mean, as you're watching it as a fan or as a viewer, it just feels rushed, right? You're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, oh, and the tension is there. Clearly, that is translating to players on the field. Where the other thing too is, I think somebody has to get that ball and give it to the official. The problem you run into is you need to have repetition, like every single day, of who is that guy. Is it the last one to touch it? Is it a designated guy? It kind of looked like they were all looking around like, well, which one of it, like a hot potato? You know what I mean?
And that's why with Dak having the ball, you would think more than any other player on the field, he would know, he would get the magnitude. I also thought this, Jake, remember how public, and it was a nationally televised game, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was a Monday night game. Remember the Chase Claypool play up in Minnesota a few weeks back?
Like a month ago, right?
Right. I mean, that was such a prominent, idiotic play.
It's like, did none of them have Twitter? I mean, that was trending for 3 days,
and
right?
I know that it's something that Frank Reich does, but I would think all coaching staffs do around the league. They try to highlight like a prominent game situation or two each week with their own team. Like, hey guys, if we're in this situation, this is what we would need to do. And so you would think that is something that they would have done. As much as we will scrutinize, and certainly it will be on a national level, Jake, 14 penalties in the game.
I look, all of it, I mean,
that's just Cowboys being Cowboys, right? In that moment. San
Francisco, and I will give you credit, Kevin, when the matchups first came out, and I asked you, I go, there's always somebody that wins that you're like, who's it going to be? And you said, I think San Francisco pulls the upset. Wasn't a huge upset, but it's an upset. You're going into a place where the Cowboys were off the radar for a lot of the year, but I think a lot of people felt like they were kind of a low-key NFC contender,
had some really nice pieces.
Right. And yet it comes down to it, and not to take anything away from the San Francisco 49ers, but didn't that almost feel as much like that game was given to them? They made plays, don't get me wrong. And they, defensively, they made some big plays, but the Cowboys' lack of discipline was just totally. Can you imagine being a Cowboys fan?
Oh my gosh. And how many pre-snap stuff in your own building, too. They had 14 penalties for the game, 9 in the second half.
9 times.
Just to look it up, the Colts had 9 penalties in one game all year. That was their season high. 9 in one half for Dallas yesterday. So we'll get the final matchup tonight. That is Rams and Cardinals. The winner of that goes to Tampa on Sunday. That's a 3 o'clock game in Tampa. So the Saturday matchups are set, Jake. You've got the Bengals at the Titans. Early line on that one, Tennessee favored by 3.5. Green Bay, San Francisco is the nightcap.
That's got to be, let me guess, 7.5. 9?
Have you seen it yet, Mark?
No.
What would be your guess?
I'd say about 8.5.
I don't do this a lot, and I'm not some chronic gambler, but I don't know, maybe I am. Green Bay's favored by 4.5.
Ooh.
Wow.
I feel like that's a jump on it early in the week. San Francisco, short week, and think about this, Jake. Nick Bosa in concussion protocol, short week. Fred Warner, their second best defensive player, one of their best, I should say. He's dealing with an ankle injury on a short week. I thought, I'm with you guys. I thought initially 6-7. That's kind of where my head went with that one. So again, those are the 2 Saturday games. Cincinnati at Tennessee, Green Bay hosting San Francisco. And then the Sunday games, it's either Rams or Cardinals traveling across the country to take on Tampa Bay. And then I would say the headliner of the weekend, Buffalo at Kansas City, the 4th time those two teams have met in 15 months. That is the 6:30 game on Sunday.
Hey, break up the Bengals, man. How about the Bengals? Like, congratulations to Bengals fans, even though they didn't play. But come on, man, that's a long wait. That's a long wait for the people of Cincinnati.
Yeah, down your skyline all week long there. And Joe Burrow, Jake, there's just a bit of a swagger to him post-game. Where, they're asking him about the game, and he's just like, I don't think it's too cool for school. I think it's just hey, this is big, for the fans, sure, but I won a national title, and we feel like we're really, really good. We beat Kansas City a couple weeks ago. For the most part, I think they were in control of that game. I know there are a couple shaky moments, but I thought they handled that playoff experience really well. And when I look at that line, I think Tennessee favored by 3.5. That's a game that I could easily see Cincinnati going into Nashville winning that game.
I would totally agree with that. Did you ever read A Season on the Brink? I'm going back, admittedly, to what now is like classic literature, but in A Season on the Brink, there's a line. Courtney Whitty was a junior college transfer in Indiana before junior college transfers were really a big thing. And early in one of those games, he had a good game. And they came in the locker room, and he wasn't a guy that played a lot, and everybody's jumping up and down. And Knight walks in and is like, what the hell's everybody celebrating about? Like, he's on scholarship too. And it talks about how, like, the players kind of stopped, like, come on, man, like, let him have his moment. I think Joe Burrow, kind of in his back of his mind, is like, what are you like giving us? Like, we're pros too.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm supposed to win. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do, right?
And, we kind of got into this last week, Jake, but I was always fearful of Cincinnati as a Colt opponent in round 1. And I thought, in this market, because we've seen it firsthand, the Colts beat Cincinnati in the playoffs a couple years ago, or I guess now more like a half decade ago. This is not your older brother Cincinnati Bengals. Like, Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow. They've got some pieces on the defensive side of the ball as well. Like, Zach Taylor has brought a much different mindset than Marvin Lewis had as their head coach. So that was fun to watch. I know it was bitter for a lot of Colts fans because they thought, oh, that should be us making the trek down I-74 and all of that. But for how much Cincinnati sports has had to deal with from a Red standpoint, that looked like a really fun environment. And kudos to the Bengals for getting that done.
I've always wondered this. For as much as, and I think he was a brilliant college football coach for the better part of his career, but for as much as Urban Meyer is a football, and Ohio State fans will throw you down a flight of stairs over this. And I realized that he got hurt, okay? But how did Joe Burrow never see the field for Ohio State? I know he got hurt, but even when he came back.
So refresh my memory, I kind of forget like how it all played out.
If I'm not mistaken...
Was it Haskins? Dwayne Haskins?
It was either Haskins or Cardell Jones. I always forget which one. But Joe Burrow was I think it was into the spring, and Ohio State fans are going to be like, see, you're talking out of your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about.
It's Ohio State, by the way, Jake.
Burrow, I think it was heading into spring, was the assumed starter and got hurt. And the quarterback that then began taking reps never relinquished the starting position, and Burrow never played. And so therefore then... he had a year of eligibility left, I believe, and they basically said, well, it's still going to be an open competition, so he transferred to LSU. But even when you look at before that, I mean, this guy's accuracy is unbelievable.
Yeah, I forgot until I haven't watched a ton of Cincinnati this year, but I didn't realize he led the league in completion percentage.
I totally believe that.
When I think of Cincinnati's offense, though, I think of like big play, and you're taking all these shots downfield, and yet leading the league. I think completion percentage is extremely impressive. Tonight, the game won't be in the desert, but there will be a team from the desert playing. It'll be the Cardinals at the Rams. Jim Irsay in the desert. Jake, did I see that?
Where was he in the desert? Was he in
Dubai?
You're referencing on Friday night, Jim Irsay sent, as a matter of fact, I saw somebody on Twitter that sent a video that said, the season won't be complete until the owner sends a motivational speech in front of the engines of his jet. And lo and behold, it happened. And we will get further into this in about 20 minutes. including the audio that we'll play for you. But Jim Irsay basically saying, you could tell he was fired up. He's standing out in front of the plane, but he said, we're here, Colts fans, we're here in the desert. And I'm like, well, where are you going?
Right. I
Coachella? Is he going to Coachella?
It's funny you say. I know he's a big fan of the Beverly Hills area, so I don't know if he's referencing, he's out there.
He can be wherever he wants to be.
Yeah,
would be
sure.
The beauty of it, right?
But boy, there were some interesting comments in there. There was one in particular that I'm thinking to myself, my mind is now racing on what exactly Jim Irsay meant by that comment. So we'll play that audio, like Jake said, a little bit later. It is Monday. It is Purdue at noon today. How about that? Purdue and Illinois at noon.
Really?
And then Indiana, Nebraska, our coverage over on the sister station, WIBC, at 5 o'clock. That is a 6 o'clock game. And we've got IU Purdue this week, Jake. Thursday.
Indiana, Purdue, Thursday. That's in Bloomington, right?
Correct.
Round 1.
9 straight. And that one for Purdue. I didn't realize this. They have won the last 2 meetings in Bloomington by 12 points apiece. Think about that, Jake. Just like one opponent going into Assembly Hall and winning by double figures in back-to-back years.
How many
times has that happened?
And there have been so many times. I mean, there have been so many games that I've been to where it seemingly was very one-sided going into it, and then the other one pulls the upset. So, I mean, to have this is. I'm not going to say it's unprecedented because you go back to like the 20s and 30s and Purdue was dominant over Indiana. Sure, I mean, it's the series itself, Purdue has been dominant over Indiana. But in the last 35 years or so, to have this kind of a stretch where one team has owned the other. And I hate to say it for Indiana fans. I grew up a huge Indiana fan. Purdue right now, I mean, it's Simon Scott Payne or Assembly Hall, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Gosh, that's humbling to say, but no, that's a great point. Big week for Purdue, though. I think just to get a little bit of 2 really quality resume wins today, probably a little bit bigger than Thursday. Illinois is the final unbeaten team in the Big Ten. They are 6-0. They haven't really beaten a lot of people, but they are a team that I think has the talent. At the start of the year, a lot of people thought they would be a legit Big Ten frontrunner, and they've been that so far. He's Jake Query. I'm Kevin Bowen. Jeff Saturday at 8 o'clock and Jeremiah Johnson at 8:30. Kind of an interesting 1-year anniversary for the Pacers right now. They are out west. They play at 3:30 today. Pacers and Clippers. Our coverage will begin at 3 o'clock, but it's a Western Conference road trip for them that begins with the banged-up LA Clippers today. You'll listen to Kevin and Query right here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Rick Venturi joins us. Rick, how does this roster look now?
The overall roster is really not bad. The problem is when you get past Taylor and Leonard, you lack the playmaking ability to change game. We have so much money tied up in guys that play in the box. Game in the NFL is one on the edges and one on the corner.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover. Exceptionally common sense.
Join 93.1 WIBC right down the dial as Indiana University takes on the Nebraska Cornhuskers this Monday night. Pre-game starts at 5 p.m. with a 6 p.m. game time.
SportsCenter updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Save $100 instantly on select sets of 4 tires from Hankook, Toyo, Continental, Nitto, General, Pirelli, Goodyear, and Nexen. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
When a health system treats patients with the very best in medical care and compassion, it needs a rare kind of staff. That's why Eskenazi Health never stops looking for professionals who understand that technology is most effective when paired with a genuine human touch. If you are a nurse,
a social worker,
or another professional interested in a career with us, visit eskenazihealth.edu/careers. Eskenazi Health, one of Becker's 150 great places to work in healthcare.
If you haven't been fueling your football season with action on PropSwap, you are missing out. I'm Kevin Bowen, and this football season has brought about some awesome opportunities to cash in. For those unfamiliar, PropSwap is the only place in Indiana where you can buy and sell sports props. When you look at college football, you had a couple of teams with extremely long odds make a run to the playoff. If you had purchased a ticket for one of those teams at the start of the year, you've had a huge opportunity to make money, even though that team didn't win at all. And that's the great thing about PropSwap. You don't have to see your prop play all the way out to make money. You can buy or sell props at any point during a season or game. Look at the NFL as well. Several teams got on late season runs to make the postseason. Well, if you pounced on the chance to purchase a playoff or Super Bowl ticket for one of those teams, you would have a chance to win on PropSwap. Football's not the only sport filled with action either on PropSwap. Plenty of basketball and baseball tickets available. Plus, weekly golf is here again, and that's something I love. So head to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app today.
Home values have skyrocketed.
And Golden Oak Lending can save you money with their low 1.875% rate.
I'm James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak. With our low rates and your increased equity, you can make home improvements or pay off debt.
Woo-hoo! Plus, skip your next 2 mortgage payments. Call 317-706-GOLD today.
Golden Oak Lending, cured my blues.
NMLS 114937. 1.875% fixed. 2.952% APR. FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and approved credit.
Did you know Amazon provides ways of working that fit your lifestyle? They know you value your time outside of work, juggling family, school, friends, or other activities. That's why they offer a variety of shifts that work for you. There are full-time, part-time, and even temporary opportunities that can work with your schedule, with great starting pay and sign-on bonuses. If you want a career that fits and adapts to your lifestyle, head to Amazon.com/apply. Amazon is a proud equal opportunity employer.
The Eagles Hotel California Tour.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Live in concert with a full orchestra.
Take it.
Performing their iconic album Hotel California, beginning to end, plus a greatest hits set. The Eagles, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, March 22nd. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com.
This ad for Hellsberg Diamonds has been specifically written for those who'd rather think about hockey than engagement rings. You're at a game and your team scores the winning goal just as time runs out. Now, if that game is your proposal and you're running out of time to find the perfect engagement ring, Hellsberg Diamonds is your winning shot. Our combination of quality diamonds, wide selection, and a price match guarantee means you can be confident in your Hellsberg Diamonds engagement ring buzzer beater. Visit your local Hellsberg store and ask about our amazing financing options or check us out at hellsberg.com.
With a free offer from Jiffy Lube and Pennzoil, here's owner Steve Sanner.
As we approach another Indiana winter, your neighborhood Jiffy Lube shops are offering free winter safety checks. No appointment and no purchase is necessary. Just stop into any Jiffy Lube and we will check your tires, brakes, battery, wiper blades, fluid levels, and answer any questions you may have about dashboard lights or any strange noises your car may be making. It's all part of Jiffy Lube's focus on becoming your trusted source for preventive maintenance. Cars and trucks are made so well these days that all you need to do is take care of them and they will last a long time. 200,000 miles is the new 100,000 miles. So stop into Jiffy Lube today. No appointment and no purchase necessary. And let our trained technicians do a free winter safety check to give you the confidence to make it through another Indiana winter.
Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985, proudly features Pennzoil. It's not just oil, it's Pennzoil.
The Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Obviously, the NFL going to dominate the Big O Tires Sports Center update here, but I should mention Pacers in action today, not tonight. But it is, Kevin, and we should certainly make reference to it. Today, the day to reflect upon the contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King, as today is Martin Luther King Day in the United States, federal holiday, and a day when the NBA moves its schedule typically to a lot of matinee games. That includes the Pacers at the Clippers at 3:30. So that's a 12:30 start out there, right?
Correct. Another game of note, kind of with an MLK sort of reference. Notre Dame basketball's playing at Howard today.
That's cool.
Jake, you don't often see that, but Mike Bray has some ties to the D.C. area, wanted to play a historically black college back a couple years ago. The game got canceled because of COVID last season, but they wanted to continue to do that. So, yeah, Notre Dame is at Howard. I think it's Purdue, Illinois at Fox, or on Fox today at noon. I believe Notre Dame and Howard follow that. So, yeah, a lot of afternoon sports leading into the final wildcard game of the night, of the weekend tonight.
Do you remember Thon Maker, who's an NBA player? He had a younger brother, Makur Maker, who it was a huge deal because he was like a top recruit that announced he was going to go to Howard last year. He was a freshman last year and then got hurt, never played. And I don't know. I don't think he's back there, though, is he?
No, but now that you say that, I don't know if it was him. I mean, I don't know if they've had multiple, but I do remember Howard getting a big name recruit. I guess it would have been him. That also, say that name again. Makur Maker?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Doesn't sound like a drink at a Mass Ave establishment.
It actually does, totally.
Yeah.
That actually sounds good, doesn't it?
It sounds like a nice wintry drink.
Yeah, I went down to what's one of the ritzy bars down there that people would go hang
I went to the Ball and Biscuit and got a Makur Maker.
That does sound good, actually. He is playing professionally, let's see, right now, for the Sydney Kings in the National Basketball League in, I would presume, Australia. NFL yesterday, or over the course of the weekend. We'll begin, actually, with, as you talked about, the big one Saturday night. Buffalo 47-17 over New England. Never in doubt in that game. Josh Allen was spectacular.
308, 5 touchdowns, Jake. No punts for the Bills. No field goals. No turnovers. No fourth downs. Boy, you don't see a Bill Belichick team manhandled like that very often.
I saw a couple of comments from people I've never seen a game where there were no punts. I'm like, Colts Chiefs?
Yeah.
Come
you
on.
factor it all in, though, the no field goals, the no turnovers, they just knelt there at the end of the game. We've kind of been waiting. Okay, how would Buffalo handle this stage after the Monday night issue with New England earlier in the year? I'd say they handled it quite
You know what's
well.
amazing, Kevin? This is a team that, and I'm going, I'd have to look at the exact numbers, but say 6 weeks ago, there was question whether or not they were going to make the playoffs.
Certainly. I think at one point they were outside looking in.
Turned it all around and put it all together. We mentioned the Chiefs last night, doubled up Pittsburgh 42-21. Steelers were set to shock the world when they got up 7-0 on a defensive touchdown for TJ Watt, and then the roof caved in.
Right? Mahomes, 5 touchdown passes in 11 minutes of game action.
That's pretty legit, right?
I mean, you just forget how they can flip a switch there. Travis Kelce threw a touchdown as well. They went into their deep bag of tricks. So right now, the AFC games we know for this coming weekend, it'll begin on Saturday. You've got Cincinnati against Tennessee. That is the 4:30 game from Nashville there. And then the second AFC game will be the nightcap on Sunday. That is a 6:30 kick with Buffalo at Kansas City for a second straight year in the postseason, just one round earlier than when they met last year.
The Bengals, by the way, 26-19 over the Raiders on Saturday. Also yesterday, it was Tampa over Philadelphia 31-15. San Francisco over the Cowboys 23-17 in what was a total disaster at the end of the game for the Dallas Cowboys. College basketball. Kevin had mentioned it earlier. It is Purdue and Illinois. That is a 12 o'clock tip today. Purdue with a 2-game win streak. The Illini have won 6 straight. They are ranked 24th. Purdue comes in ranked 5th. Indiana and Nebraska, that game at 6 o'clock tonight. Indiana still looking for its first true road win, something that eluded last night. Butler, not a good performance against Villanova. 82-42.
They lose by 40. The Laval Jordan hot seat needs to be, I don't know, scorching at this point, Jake?
It kind of feels inevitable, doesn't it?
And I get there is a bit of a who else for Butler. I'm sitting there at the Pacer game the other night looking at the Pacers bench. I'm thinking, would it be a huge step back for Ronald Norred in his coaching career
good call
to go
there.
to Butler, But
Tom Crean's going to be looking for a gig. You mentioned him one time we were talking off the air, kind of flippantly.
Well,
but
the name that I've always thought with Notre Dame is, what about Archie Miller? if they ever move on from Mike Bray, that kind of shows you what I think of Notre Dame's basketball program. Scotty mentions this, Jake. So Pacers and Clippers, that's a 3:30 tip from out there. Lakers are hosting the Jazz at the Staples Center tonight at 10:30. So they're going doubleheader at the Staples Center today.
Got to change all the banners, right?
Yeah.
Change the signage.
Paul George out. He's right elbow tendon. He's been out for a couple weeks now. Kawhi Leonard, of course, still coming back. The Clippers, they're under 500. Jake, their leading scorer the other night was a guy by the name of Amir Coffey.
Yeah, household name. He is, right? Good to the last drop. Jim Irsay, we're going to get into that, right, Kevin?
We are going to get into that. I did want to mention the Colts. This was announced late on Friday. Some of you probably won't care about this, but the all-pro teams were announced. Jonathan Taylor, a unanimous 50 votes. He is the first-team running back. Darius Leonard at linebacker got 44 of 50 votes. Luke Rhodes, also a first-teamer at long snapper. Second-team, Quentin Nelson and Ashton Doolin there, and the others that received votes for the Colts, DeForest Buckner, Ryan Kelly, and a couple special teamers, and Matthew Adams and E.J. Speed. And Matt Eberflus interviewing with Mark's Bears today after he interviewed with the Jags on Saturday. All right, we come back here on Kevin and Query. Listen on 93.5, 107.5. We will play that Jim Irsay audio, react to that as well. And Jake wanted to throw out a quarterback name that saw his season come to a close this past weekend. Could he be wearing a horseshoe next year? We'll get to that as well. Jeff Saturday in half hour here on Kevin and Query.
The Pacers are in L.A. for a matinee with the Clippers. This afternoon at 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Pine Grove Medical Clinic has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free, plus a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 317-552-1111. That's 317-552-1111. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Pine Grove Medical Clinic now to qualify. 317-552-1111.
BetMGM welcomes you with a special offer on the Pro Football Playoffs. Simply place a $10 moneyline wager on any game. If either team scores a touchdown, you'll win $200 in free bets regardless of your bet's outcome. Just use the bonus code THEFAN200, that's all one word, capital T, capital F, when you make your first bet. Enjoy the playoffs like never before and earn M Life Rewards that you can use for rooms and dining at any MGM resort nationwide. So download the app or go to BetMGM.com and again, use that bonus code THEFAN200 to win $200 in free bets if a touchdown is scored in a Pro Football Playoff game. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Indiana only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Switch to Spectrum Mobile and get unlimited data for only $29.99 per month each when you get 2 or more lines. You could save hundreds on your mobile bill. Plus, there are no added taxes, hidden fees, and no contracts. Try the Spectrum Mobile Savings Calculator today, and in 3 easy steps, you'll see how much you could save. Visit SpectrumMobile.com/save. Offer valid for new customers on 2 or more unlimited lines. Spectrum Internet required. Restrictions apply. Visit SpectrumMobile.com for details.
As a Shane Company jewelry consultant, I get to work with couples looking for their dream engagement ring. Many feel overwhelmed. They just don't know where to start. And that's what I love about my job. I get to make this important experience fun and easy. We don't work on commission, so there's no pressure. When you visit, first, I'll want to know, what are your ideas for your dream ring? What fits your lifestyle, your personality, your budget? Then we'll go from there. We'll look at ring settings and I'll show you options for the center stone. For example, if you choose a classic solitaire ring setting, I can show you how it'll look with different center stones, like a pear-shaped diamond or an oval pink sapphire. We have all shapes, colors, and sizes. If you're going for a big look with lots of sparkle, I can show you our halo ring settings. Or, if you want a ring that's ready to go, we can look at our perfectly preset styles. Visit your friends. We're in this together.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Pat Sullivan here for the Michaelis Corporation, now in business over 35 years. I'm here with Bart Fisher to talk about how Michaelis helps with water emergencies. Bart, water issues can take many, many forms.
That's right, Pat. Water seeping into basements from heavy rains, sewer backups, or pipes bursting anywhere in the house. Some of those pipes might be upstairs in a bathroom or laundry room that cause damage throughout the home.
All right, so you call Michaelis. What's next?
Well, we work with plenty of plumbing companies throughout central Indiana, so if a plumber is needed, we can get you to one. Then we start the drying out process, which limits any mold issues in the future. And finally, we restore damage back to a like new state.
When it comes to dealing with the homeowner's insurance, does Michaelis handle that as well?
Yes, we do the legwork with the insurance companies and subcontractors to make this process as painless as possible.
If you have a water emergency, call Michaelis anytime, 24/7, the number 844-FIX-INDY, or visit michaeliscorp.com. The Michaelis Corporation. Construct, renovate, restore.
At Kroger, fresh groceries are our thing, so we check your delivery order for freshness at every step from farm to store and pick and pack every veggie in your free pickup order with care, because we treat your food the way we'd want ours to be treated. We're fresh every day, so shop anyway. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
You'll find low prices on the freshest produce every day. Medium Hass avocados or large mangoes are only 67 cents each with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Is Mark Dykton paying tribute to Betty White here?
I am. Should be your 100th birthday today.
Oh, really?
Yep.
And they were going to do a big tribute.
People Magazine already put out a copy, right?
It was either People Magazine or one of the morning shows. I think we're going to do like a huge tribute to her. And I think are still going to, but she was all in on it and everything.
Yeah, there's a documentary out. I guess it's today only now since she passed away, but they're playing nationwide today only.
Why would they do it today only?
I don't know.
Nothing. Everything's replayable these days, right, Mark?
So you'd think so.
Kevin, Jim Irsay's out somewhere in a desert. Is he like Jim Morrison?
I don't know how Jim Irsay would do in a desert for very long, to be honest with you.
Do you know how you can remember to spell desert versus dessert?
Oh, boy.
No, it's not a joke.
There's a lot of people happy that they're up on this Monday morning with us right now.
When you're a kid and you've got to spell, let me ask you this, how do you spell desert?
Desert has one S, right?
Mm-hmm. What about dessert?
It tastes so good, there's two S's.
That's exactly right. You order the second S, right? That's very simple, very easy to remember.
That wasn't as bad as I thought.
It wasn't a joke. I'm just saying it's a fun little tidbit.
Jim Irsay, outside of his plane engine on Friday night, fires off this video. And Jake, I am super curious your reaction to a particular part of it, but we will play the audio right now. Again, bear with the engine in the background here, but here was a fired up Jim Irsay on Friday night.
Colt fans, here in the desert now, and feeling the pain and disappointment from this season. It certainly is something where I apologize for, and we have allowed, and I have allowed, doubt, fear, and a lack of faith slip into our DNA, and it will not stand. Every walking step in this offseason is committed to getting the horseshoe back to where it should be. We understand what happens, and I understand what happens. It is unacceptable. I promise you one thing. Anyone walking into the 56th Street complex this year will be walking in with all chips in, period. You don't want to put all your chips in on the table for winning and excellence, then don't walk in the building. This commitment starts with me. It starts with my self-analysis, and I can tell all of Colts Nation this is something that every day, every hour, every minute we're working to fix. It's unacceptable, and it will not stand. Thank you.
Okay, my reaction initially is this, Kevin.
The engine's working?
The engine does work, yes. Yeah, I've heard it all before. Okay? Every owner should say that. Is there an owner in New York or Arizona or Cleveland or Jacksonville that doesn't say the same thing when asked? Like, oh, man, we are all – like, what happened this year for every team except for the one that won the Super Bowl, don't they all say, next year we are fully committed to taking the next step?
I have not heard him use the phrase like the all chips in
I get it.
with anyone walking into the building. When I heard that Friday night, I thought to myself, is he referencing Carson Wentz?
Yes.
And not getting the vaccine?
Yes.
Like that is 100% what he means by that.
You could make the argument, let me ask you this, Kevin. You know better than I because especially at that time you were still around it, on a day-to-day, and I was on the beach. What was their, in terms of their OTAs, what is OTA stands for what? Off-season training?
Activities.
Activities.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of their OTAs and like the mini camps they had in the spring and summer, were they mandatory?
No, voluntary, which they're voluntary for every team in the league.
Understood. Like Edgerrin James' famous quote, I went to college for 3 years, but I know what voluntary means.
Yeah, but the Colts went like two-hand touch when they came to West 56 for just 2 weeks of time.
What was the attendance?
It was pretty close to 100%. I think Xavier Rhodes was really the only one that wasn't there. I think when he says all chips in with that, if he's going down that path, Jake, if he's going down that path of what we did in the spring wasn't physical enough, which is something Chris Ballard said last week. Again, that was a player-driven agreement with Chris Ballard and Frank Reich of, hey, we'll come in the spring. We're not going to do anything physical, though. And if you looked at the other 31 teams in the NFL, the Colts were on the very light end of things from a physicality standpoint with their OTAs. So do you think it's referencing that too?
I do. I mean, I think that it's easy to automatically say that's on Carson Wentz, but I think it's a little bit of a dog whistle to him. I am prepared to say this. I have nothing to base this on. I want to be very clear because I realize that when you have a microphone on a sports talk radio station and you say something, understandably people see that as a report, okay? This is not a report. This is just my gut, okay? I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be the quarterback of the Colts next year, period. I think Jim Irsay, behind closed doors, said to Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, I'm willing to give this a shake, but it better work out. And it's one thing to have Carson Wentz's play decline at the most critical moments, but it's another, and I know that people are going to take this the wrong way and whatever else. I don't want to get into the narrative that I am critiquing Carson Wentz's decision about the vaccine. I'm not saying that. He absolutely has the right to make that decision. That to be said, when Carson Wentz decided not to take the vaccine, he knew he was assuming the risk, right? What is the entire point of a free choice society? You are at liberty to make your own decisions so long as you are willing to deal with the consequences of those decisions. When Carson Wentz opted not to take the vaccine, that is absolutely his right as an American, and God bless America. But he also knew that that was opening the door for critique upon him if everything didn't go perfect for him. And it did not. At the end of the year, he did not play well. He missed practice time, and whether or not that has anything to do with the fact that he was in the COVID protocol, I have no idea. But what I do know is he opened the door for that association with it. And so if you're Jim Irsay, you look at it and you say, this guy wasn't all in. He wasn't all in. Yes, he had that choice. I'm going by Jim Irsay's paraphrasing him back at the beginning of the year. Guys have their choice, but they have to understand the consequence.
And that's the thing is Irsay, like you just said, Jake, Irsay in late July, right before the start of training camp, he was extremely fired up about his team and the low vaccination numbers, particularly with their prominent players. So when I heard that, I thought, the way he phrased, anyone walking into the building on 56, all chips need to be. Well,
now I've walked in that building. Now, can I not go in there anymore if I don't have my chips?
Well, if you're gonna hold them, then you're not gonna be.
Are they chili cheese Fritos? Because that's my favorite chip.
I'm a big nacho cheese Dorito guy. Although Cool Ranch, I think, is always a good mix-up every now and again. The other thing I thought with that comment was, okay, I think that the all chips in reference is an indirect shot at Wentz. I think it's a little bit of what you just said in that in the springtime, the Colts, for some reason, decided to scale back their physical activity big time despite losing, 6 straight season openers and having a brutal start to the season when you looked at their schedule the first 5 games. And
just behold, the health standpoint, Kevin. I mean, the frequency in which the Colts have injuries is part of that because they are literally going from 0 to 90
enough in the spring.
Correct.
Yeah. The other angle that I think you could look at it with this, Jake, is when he says the all chips in, again, he means, or at least he's saying, anyone that walks in the building. Is he talking about it from a available resource standpoint of like, all chips are in, I would be willing to give up whatever it's going to take to get a marquee quarterback? Like, you will have some people that run an NFL franchise, and if they don't have their first-round pick for 2022, like the Colts don't, they would be hesitant giving up, let's say, their 23, 24, and 25 first-round picks for a Russell Wilson. Is Irsay saying, I'll do anything. I'll do anything from a draft pick financial standpoint to get a high-level quarterback into this building?
Kevin, I love Jim Irsay because he's a fun personality. He's a philanthropic guy. He's a kind-hearted person. He also happens to have the greatest stadium lease and public subsidy in the National Football League. That doesn't mean that he has responsibility to give back civically, but it does mean that he has a ton of capital. And if that means that he's got to buy out Carson Wentz and then go out, here's the challenge, though. And if I'm Jim Irsay, this is where I'm a little bit PO'd and peeved. Derek Carr, Jim Irsay in that plane video says he's out in the desert. No, he was not in Las Vegas trying to sign Derek Carr. He might have been there to see the Arizona Coyotes in Phoenix because apparently he's a Coyotes fan, but no indication that he is an owner of the Coyotes despite the fact people have seen him wearing Coyotes shirts. But Derek Carr is a guy due $19.7 million in the last year of his deal with the Raiders, and there is discussion that perhaps the Raiders could be looking to move on from that and begin the phase of their next quarterback. I think the world of Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is a nice talent who throws a really accurate football. And I also think, Kevin, that Derek Carr carries with him a lot of the characteristics that the Colts have claimed to emphasize and enjoy about Carson Wentz. He's a family guy. He's a player of faith. Derek Carr, say what you want. When I see Derek Carr, and I'm not intimately involved with the Raiders, I get that. But when I watch Derek Carr and I watch his mannerisms and the way his teammates respond to him, he looks to me like a guy that is a leader that guys want to play with and play for. Carson Wentz looks like a guy that a lot of guys resent, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well said. I feel a little bit of Phillip Rivers with Carr.
I can see that.
Of like, all right, I want to rally around him a little bit more than Carson.
Correct.
I also think this, Jake, I mean, it's not like Carr has an abundance of weapons. I mean, Darren Waller is a great tight end. But you don't look at his wideout group and think, oh, wow, that's a top 5, top 10 wideout group. And I keep on going back to Ballard's comments last week. The fact that Ballard thinks that the Colts have a fine to better than fine wide receiver group, and yet he made the comments that he did about Carson Wentz, I think says a whole lot about how Chris Ballard feels about Carson Wentz.
By the way, Brian says, I think Irsay is saying that the Colts fans are in the desert. I think he actually was. I mean, I get that, but metaphorically, but I think he was in a desert, right?
I honestly think
clearly it was warm wherever he was.
He was in California there. The Carr to me is an upgrade over Wentz, Jake. But can he get you over the hump? Like, Saturday was Derek Carr's first playoff experience. So you would still kind of have that elephant in the room of, is he... It goes back to the question, what do you need at quarterback?
To be fair, it was his first playoff experience, but it was not the first time his team got there to the playoffs because of him.
Right.
Because he had a remarkable MVP-level year.
Yeah, broke his leg. And
Trent Cole, I think it was. I mean, not his fault. I think it was. Broke the leg. In addition to that, with Derek Carr, in looking at him and just what he can bring to the table, if I'm Jim Irsay, I'm also not happy with the fact that I don't have a first-round pick. I mean, the Raiders are going to want pieces to get rid of Derek Carr, and do the Colts have those pieces? That's the question.
1 year left on his deal, Derek Carr. The fact that his cap hit is $19 million for next year and Carson Wentz's cap hit is $28 million, that makes me weep. Derek Carr, $9 million less.
$9 million.
I feel like 9 has been brought up a whole lot here. On this Monday morning. $9 million less, Jake, for a better... I mean, so theoretically, you could get a number 2 wideout in free agency with that money and have a better quarterback.
Yeah.
But yet, you could be having Carson. Now, to be fair, I don't think we've heard anything from Vegas that they would be done with Derek Carr. Like Marcus Mariota is their backup.
I mean, that's right. Mariota's another name that's out there, right?
So, it's not like they have a Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance situation. That is definitely not the case with the Vegas Raiders.
The other aspect of the Irsay comments, Kevin, and I get it. I will give Jim Irsay credit for the fact that that's what he is saying, what fans want to hear. Okay? We're going to be all in. We're going to make the proper changes. We know that this year was a disappointment. We're PO'd about it. This will not settle well, whatever else. But you've won, a playoff game in 5 years? And this is a franchise and a fan base that I think is starting to realize that great quarterback play and running out to 12 wins before Christmas is the anomaly. But around here, it became the norm. It became the norm. And so I think that, to me, it rings a little bit hollow. Actions speak louder than words, right?
Certainly. I think he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth, to be honest with you, Jake. It's these fired up videos that you see and, penning the letter to Colts fans last week where, we're we're resigned to being a contending team and this is unacceptable. So all these fired up words, but yet you gave them both a contract extension before the start of the season. And he also used the word that Ballard and Reich have done an excellent job to Mike Chappell last month. So why is it excellent extension out of one side of your mouth, but then you do see these fired up videos where it's like, I am demanding change. Well, what is that change?
Right.
And I think that's the hardest question that we've tried to decipher here over the last week. It's clearly not Ballard or Reich. You listen to Ballard last week, it's not Eberflus. So unless it's Wentz, I just don't see where that significant change comes from. And I would like to just hear Jim Irsay be a little bit more of a, I feel like we have such a, these guys can't be on the hot seat. Ballard and Reich align philosophically. I'm like, why can't they be? Being on the hot seat can all of a sudden fire you up if you're lead to a good thing.
If you're a GM, a quarterback, or a head coach in the NFL, you are on the hot seat all the time, right? Peyton Manning wore asbestos underwear. Why? Because he's a quarterback, and the quarterback's always on the hot seat. Right? Seriously, because, did I just hear an oh boy out of Dykton?
Yeah, you did.
I mean, what? But no, you get what I'm saying, though. Peyton Manning was never on the hot seat. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying there are three things that you have to know are constantly under scrutiny, and the ability to jerk the wheel into a 180 can be very easily done in those three positions. You are constantly under scrutiny.
Right, but again, in Irsay's eyes, Jake, he says they do an excellent job and he extends them through 2026. That doesn't indicate hot seat. To me, it's, when have the Colts been at their best under Frank Reich? When their backs are against the wall. 1-5 start in 2018, 1-4 this year. So why don't you put Chris Ballard and Frank Reich's back against the wall? Be vulnerable. Look in the mirror. Admit that you've got to do some things differently. I think that helps you, lock in. You look at everything with a very critical eye. So to me, I think, stating that we accept better. Those contract extensions don't necessarily mean that they're going to ride it out through 2026. I am such a big believer in that. The offseason, particularly when you miss the playoffs, it's all about evaluating things so critically. Can you fix everything? No. But you find out what your warts are, and you see what warts need the most attention with that, and you think to yourself, what if Jonathan Taylor isn't healthy for 17 games next year? What if he does miss 3 or 4 games? What if Darius Leonard isn't having that incredibly turnover, driven season? I get none of that from Irsay.
Really good point here from Jamie on Twitter. Hey, Jake, the Raiders' need is center. They should include Ryan Kelly in a trade to Las Vegas plus whatever else and then start Danny Pinter. You hurt your depth a little bit there on the line, but, look, you got to, if you're going to make an upgrade, you got to give up some pieces.
You would obviously need more than just Ryan Kelly.
Well, that's what he said, and other pieces, right?
Throw
the problem is, you would assume that a first-round pick is going to be one of the things that the Raiders are coveting.
Right. Anthony says, could Irsay's comments of all in also mean that the Colts will be more active in free agency? That was part of what I was getting at, Anthony. Is he saying, I will do anything at all costs? But the wording of it, Jake, if you're going to walk into the building at West 56, your chips need to be all in. Like, that wording isn't necessarily my checkbook.
Right.
So that is where I was a little bit thrown off by that as well. Leave some questions we'll pose to Jeff Saturday when he joins us here in about 5 minutes. Jeremiah Johnson at 8:30 as well. Kevin and Query, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
That was the most embarrassing and worst loss in the history of the Indianapolis Colts. That was complete and utter foobar. That's what that was. Coach Yost, remember the Titans, leave no doubt. You know what they accomplished yesterday besides just flat embarrassing themselves, which is exactly what they did. They left out on the future direction of this team.
The Ride with JMV.
Weekdays 3 to 6.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Come rain or shine, high winds or mild breezes, blue skies or gray, it's a great time to consider getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Sponsored by BioNTech and Pfizer.
It's CarX Tire and Auto, 14 Central Indiana locations helping you keep winter road ready. To find that location nearest you, log on, CarX.com today.
A while back, we at AmericanEagle.com were asked to build the e-commerce site of a major candy distributor. With the need for a website that could take into account everything from shipping times to local weather, because, candy melts, the task was not like taking candy from a baby. Fortunately, we live for a good digital challenge and free bonbons. So we got to work on a slew of complex integrations, including a shipping algorithm that factored in variables like distance, speed, and location. The website even let the end customer personalize their candy for special events, like weddings or, major website launches. When all was said and done, our client enjoyed a significant increase in traffic, which we were also well prepared for, and an increase in average order size. A sweet result indeed. For complex e-commerce sites, digital marketing, UX, and more, talk to the experts at AmericanEagle.com. Don't just grow, soar.
Hey, it's JMV. Ray's Trash Services, the largest independent recycling and waste solutions provider in the Indianapolis area, and right now, they're looking for great people to join the team. Ray's is a family-operated business and has been providing Central Indiana with industry-leading recycling and waste disposal solutions since 1965. They focus a lot on the culture to make it a great place to work. Go to raystrash.com to see the career opportunities waiting for you. That's raystrash.com today. Ray's, your recycling and waste solutions partner.
Few weeks into the new year, and I've got an idea for you. Do you really want to go through another year with awful joint pain? Well, you don't have to do it. You can resolve right now and get yourself moving again for 2022. It's time to call QC Kinetics. At QC Kinetics, you've got non-surgical regenerative treatments for joint pain. We're talking lasting results using natural biologics. No surgery, no pain meds, no steroids, no downtime. Regenerative treatments that actually encourage your body to heal itself using highly concentrated natural biologics, and patients rave about it. For hip pain, knee pain, shoulder, and back pain, don't let them keep giving you steroids, and don't let them tell you that surgery is your only option. You get a free second opinion at QC Kinetics. You can do it now and imagine your life in 2022 without pain. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, 463-235-7160. That's 463-235-7160.
Hey, are you a single professional man looking for a life mate? If your do-it-yourself approach for finding her isn't getting you the results you want, why not hire a pro, like me, so you can take your game to a new level? I'm Amy Owen, singles coach and matchmaker. Maybe you've been looking for a while, or maybe you're newly divorced or widowed and haven't had a date in years, even decades. I can offer you tips, strategies, and introductions to some of Indy's finest single women. These ladies are active, attractive, fit, smart, accomplished, and financially self-sufficient. The only thing missing from their lives is the love and companionship of a good man. If that's you, please give me a call at 317-727-6331. That's 727-6331. Or check out my website, blueribbonsingles.com. Why Blue Ribbon Singles? Because it's the winners who get the blue ribbon.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for their e-club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Signing up is easy. Visit TwinPeaksRestaurant.com/Peaks-Club. Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views. Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight guaranteed, only $49.99. Hypnosis to destroy unwanted cravings. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick. Lose your desire to smoke or your money back. Seminars are selling out fast. Limited weight loss seats available Thursday, January 20th at the Holiday Inn in Carmel, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminars Thursday, January 20th, 8 to 10 p.m. at the Holiday Inn in Carmel, and Saturday, January 22nd, 2 to 4 p.m. at the La Quinta Inn and Suites in Indianapolis. Registration begins 30 minutes before seminar.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX. Indianapolis.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
8 o'clock on a Monday. You know what that means. Time to chat up Jeff Saturday. Always good discussion, not only about the Colts, but around the National Football League, made possible each and every week by More Restoration. First on site, new name, same great people, More Restoration with Jeff Saturday. Jeff, I'll begin right out of the box with this. We saw some entertaining games. I don't know how many you would say were overly competitive games, but in Wild Card Weekend, what, if anything, jumped out and surprised you that we saw take place?
Probably the way the Buffalo beat the Patriots. I mean, just convincingly manner they did. I mean, I picked that to be a win. I did not think it was going to be that lopsided of a football game. And that physically, I think that's the part that probably surprised me the most, was that physically, that they were as set apart than as they were. It was an amazing game. I thought Josh Allen put that team on his back and made some incredible plays. But they also, would hand it to Singletary and physically go down and run downhill at him. So that was probably my biggest surprise of the weekend.
Jeff, I would say probably the most talked about game right now is Dallas and San Francisco and what happened at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw your former teammate Jacob Tamme's tweet, but Tamme tweeted after the game yesterday, Tom Moore's number one rule of 2-minute drill, and I only heard it about 7 million billion times, at the end of every play, in all caps, hand the ball to the umpire. I'm going to guess you heard that a few times in your day?
maybe once or twice in my life have I heard that. No, absolutely. There's no, the whole, don't throw it to them. They can't catch. All the different things that he said. He had some great ones now, and he still does down in Tampa. But man, there's no doubt you have to get that ball in the hands of the official. They have to place it to spot it. And one of those things that you just, the funny part about that is when you're running 2 minutes, so often the play ends with a receiver, tight end, or running back that you really drill those things in their head. Very rarely does it ever talk about the quarterback being in that position with the alert down, right? So he's probably accustomed to just handing it back to the center. The center doesn't, he's trying to spot the ball, thinking that the ball can, be wherever he's down. But yeah, there is a protocol for the way you sit it and do it, and one of those things, they didn't execute it, man. That's the bottom line. They didn't do what they have to do, and ultimately it led to the end of the game in that way.
We were discussing this earlier, Jeff Saturday, our guest, but you would be the perfect person to ask because you were in these situations. In those moments, I mean, obviously one would assume, every professional team, by the time you get to that point, you have practiced those scenarios and those situations and gone over it a million times. But all hell is breaking loose, right? I mean, I'm watching it on television and it's chaotic. What is it that separates some players from others in terms of being able to just navigate through that? And is it unfair to assume that Dak Prescott didn't know what to do and rather just simply say he probably just got lost in the insane moments of everything happening?
Oh man, it could definitely be a both and. Yeah. I'm sure when they're practicing it, they talk about it and they do it. But when we in Indy, we would have referees at our practice, and you would practice doing that. I mean, or someone from the equipment staff would pretending to be the referee who's the spotter, so you would run the ball to them. But I think to me, it's more of a you drilled it so much that it's just habitual, and that this is just in your head. It's ingrained. This is what we do. This is how we do it, so that those moments don't happen that way. But I'm sure they have discussed it. I'm sure if you ask Dak, to your point, when everybody's sitting in a meeting, what it should look like. But it's got to be one of those things that if you're going to have that play in, and you would think that play they had practiced the entire season, not just not just this week as they're leading in, but even like the distance that he tried to run, like all of those things they're very precise. If you had 14 seconds left, you have 16 seconds left. You talk about those things. Hey, you can run a typical 5 yards, and you got to get down. That's as far as you can go. Even when you're running like alert downs, where you're running, trying to get out of bounds. It's if you don't get out of bounds, how fast do we have to get? How quick can we get it spotted? All of those things, like you go through those situations. And so, it could be that he did get overwhelmed at the moment. No one's going to know. I mean, no one's going to own that at this point. It's just a matter of, they're going to say, hey, we just didn't execute it quite well enough. But those will be things that they talk about and as coaching points, I guarantee you, through next year and the years after.
Yeah, I thought with 14 seconds to go, just take a couple shots at the end zone. The referee crew had thrown, I think, 23 penalties in the game. Clearly was a flag-happy crew. You never know what could have happened then. Jeff Saturday via More Restoration is with us here on Kevin and Query. Okay, looking ahead to Saturday and Sunday. I know we got one more game tonight, Jeff, but Bengals at Titans, Packers hosting the 49ers, either the Rams or Cardinals traveling to Tampa Bay, and then Buffalo at Kansas City, the divisional game that you have your most attention on, you think will be what?
Probably that Buffalo-KC game, man. I mean, two teams that are playing well offensively. They're putting up points. Defenses have kind of stepped up and played good. I think, man, this is going to be a fun game to watch, So I think that's the one I'm probably most excited to watch. I just think that, when you think about how well Buffalo played, but now they have to travel to KC. Can KC start fast, right? Like you're playing Buffalo now. If they get down 14, this isn't the same, this isn't the same Patrick Mahomes kind of explosive offense that we've seen. If a team can play back and not be aggressive, if Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator for Buffalo, can stay, in a too high shell and make them, check down the entire time, what does that look like? There's just so many things, so many little stories within the story of that game that I'm probably most excited to watch.
Jeff Saturday's our guest. He is on the Payless Liquors guest line, courtesy of More Restoration. Jeff, you played for Jim Irsay. You've been around Jim Irsay a lot. I'm going under the assumption that you saw Jim Irsay's comments in the video that he released standing next to his jet that was fired up. But in those comments, in case you didn't see it, he basically said, look, we're disappointed, and moving forward, unless you have all chips in the building, like, we don't want you around. Now, to me, that kind of sounds like owner speak. I mean, I'm thinking, well, yeah, wouldn't that be the case for every owner in the NFL? But you being around him, was this a different Jim Irsay than one that you have seen and been around in the past?
Yeah, and I think it's a frustrated Jim Irsay. So, no, I've been on teams where we've definitely let it down, didn't do what the expectations were or whatever. Had some rough days for sure. And so, yeah, I think from an owner perspective, he has every right to be, feeling the way he's feeling. I don't understand everything exactly as he said it, what that, what he was referring to, but, I think from a team perspective, they're going to look inward. You heard the comments leading up, Frank in the week and then Chris later in the week. And, I think all of them sound like they're on the exact same page. They don't know exactly what their team's going to look like. They're going to make sure they put the best thing out there. And the one thing about Jim, he wants to win. Like he knows the game of football. This guy, He cares about winning. That's first and foremost. And so if he doesn't feel like he's given his team, his players, and his organization the best chance to win, he's going to make a change. And so whether that's hey, what does all in mean? I'm sure they're going to clarify that to the players who are in the building. We may never know, but you can tell he's definitely chapped and wants everybody to understand. This isn't acceptable, and he's going to get this thing fixed. And I think from a fan's perspective, you appreciate it. And let's we can't do nothing about it now. Let's look at 2022 and how can we be a better football team, and let's move in that direction.
Okay, so two-part question here, Jeff Saturday. The first, do you believe Carson Wentz will be an Indianapolis Colt next season? And the other half of that is, do you believe that Jim Irsay wants him to be?
It's hard for me because I'm not, I think from Chris's perspective and Frank's perspective and Jim's perspective, it's not just did he play well enough. It's, what else is out there? What can we afford to do from a cap perspective? I mean, there's a lot to that. You know what I mean? I mean, y'all heard my statements about the way I thought he played this season, and saying that I didn't think he had done enough in the major moment. But that doesn't mean, that you can make a change because you don't. I mean, I have no idea what's there. I mean, I wish I could tell you I've studied what the QB market's going to look like. I'm not there yet. As I'm still watching games, it's who's going to be there, what can be, and I think from when you say, well, Jim, does he want him there? I would say the same answer really is. Not if he's not going to play in the big moments. That's why you trade a first and third, and I think that's what we gave, right? A first and third, and you give those things because you think that guy's going to take you to the show. So, show meaning the Super Bowl, obviously. And so, if he doesn't feel like he's the guy, he would definitely move on. I don't think he's a guy who would, mix those words. But again, man, it's I've told people this, in my entire career. It's, when people talk about, oh, man, you got to fire somebody or do this. If you fire them, who are you hiring? And so I've said what I thought about Carson Wentz and his performance this season and was disappointed in it. But that doesn't mean that, he's not going to be there. And if he is there, he's got to be the guy. Like, you got to go coach the guys that are there. And so that's the part that's always hard in the NFL, man. It's not, you can't out-recruit them. You know what I mean? There's not you wish there were a transfer portal. I'm sure if you're a coach or a general manager where guys could just, but good quarterbacks don't hit that market very often. And so it's going to be one of those things you got to find out, who you think could give you the best chance. And if that's still Carson Wentz, then he'll still be there.
Jeff, last one for me. Listening to Chris Ballard last week, he definitely is a believer that Eric Fisher has good football in him still. Are you in the camp of year 2 removed from the Achilles, then Fisher can get back to the level that maybe he once was, or at least more on an adequate level compared to some of the pass protection issues we saw this past year?
Yeah, I would agree with that, man. And again, I think left tackle falls in the same category as the quarterback, man. There ain't a lot of left tackles that are hitting the market that are just anchoring down, each and every pass rush guy. So there's going to be flaws in his game. There were flaws in his game before he was injured, right? And so, but he fully capable of playing that position and giving us enough to win? I do believe that. Listen, you heard me throughout the season what that guy did this season to come back as fast as he did from the Achilles and play and look no further than guys yesterday, offensive linemen who got rolled up and banged up and come back in the game with a high ankle sprain. I mean, when someone's 250, 280 pounds and they're leaning on you and pushing you and pressing you, and you're trying to anchor down, there's nothing easy about that. And so he will definitely be better this next season, and will have the ability to continue to stack better performances on his name if that's the guy who they throw out there.
Jeff, what's the coldest game that you played in?
Ooh. Man, probably. I played in some cold ones. When I went to Green Bay, obviously it was cold as well. But I would say there was actually a game early in my career. We played in Cleveland, and man, it was like the wind was blowing and howling, and it was coming right off the lake and coming over the top of the stadium, and then would whipped down, man. And it was like rain, sleet that started as we were warming up, and then it turned to snow, and then kind of back to that stuff, man. And I'm just telling you that game, like my toes and my fingers, and early in the game, my hand got stuck between two face masks as we were hitting. And I just remember thinking, man, every time you hit, it's like an electric charge just going down my spine. I mean, it was next level cold and pain. And I will tell you, I was not tough guy. I had sleeves on. I was freaking freezing.
I mean, do you get this? I was thinking about this as I was watching, obviously, in Buffalo and, even Kansas City, whatever. Two things, and you tell me if I'm way off base here. Number one, I was wondering if you really get enough motion that you kind of warm up. I mean, it's not like you're running and you're moving consecutively. So when you're on the field. And then secondly, I almost wondered if it's worse when the defense is on the field, or you know what I mean? The defense is out there and you just got to sit. I mean, that would be, and you're not moving at all. I mean, do you ever get used to it?
Yeah, it is one of those things, and I'll be real with you. You have your shoulder pads on, and so the truth is, the part of your body that keeps you warm is staying warm. You know what I mean? So so once you get out there, you really don't think about the weather, very, very much. For me, when I was in Cleveland, I was rotating series, so it was me and Waverly Jackson were rotating. And so I would go in a series, and then he would go in a series. So to your point, not only was I on the bench for like an extended period of time watching our defense, I would then have to wait, an offensive series. So that definitely didn't help. And back then they didn't have the warm. We weren't using the warm benches. It was like part warm bench, part metal. So it wasn't nearly as comfortable as it is now. But as my career went on, even in Green Bay, man, I very rarely got cold, and I didn't wear sleeves. You know what I mean? It didn't, because your arms aren't the part that's really going to get cold. Again, it's got to be like that. It has to be like that wet, where you're getting rained on or sleeted on, and it's right at that freezing temperature. To me, was just the actual cold. If the wind wasn't going, man, you and I both, you get out there, start running around, all of a sudden your body, you feel good, and you don't get cold until you're doing post-game, interviews on the sideline. You know what I mean? So, yeah, 100% right there.
You like the Rams or Cardinals tonight?
I'm going Rams. And listen, I think the Rams' defense, to me, is going to be the difference. Can Von Miller, can Donald, can Floyd, can these guys get pressure and make Murray uncomfortable? And I think they will. I think this will be a tight game, but I think the Rams will find a way to get it done. And Matthew Stafford will get that win and move on to the next one.
And again, more restoration now. First on site, new name, same great people. Jeff, has been, I think, a fairly exciting wildcard weekend. Hopefully we get a good one tonight, but I'm really looking forward to the divisional round next weekend and chatting with you on Monday all about it. So thank you for the time. We'll talk to you in a week.
Appreciate it, fellas. Talk to you then. Take care.
That's a great Jeff Saturday right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. That was a point he made about that Cowboys game that we didn't really talk about in the opening segment, Jake. Like, why don't you just take two shots at the end zone with 14 seconds to go?
I mean, well, the play call was ridiculous, right?
Right. I mean, like, 23 penalties in the game. You've got all these wideouts, and Cooper and Schultz had a big game, and CeeDee Lamb and whatnot. Like, take two shots at the end zone and see what happens.
You got those guys on your roster for a reason, right?
I mean, what did 15 yards do? Now, to me, it's the quantity of shots, not the super high percentage quality of shots. And I don't know what 10, 12 yards is really going to do in that situation.
Not good. No doubt about it. Actually, we should probably take a look at that and other scores within the Big O Tires SportsCenter update. Kevin, what do you think?
Let's do it.
The SportsCenter update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Yeah, you saw it last night. San Francisco over Dallas, now 23-17. So the Niners, as Kevin Bowen accurately predicted, the Niners pulling the one surprise of wild card weekend. Jimmy Garoppolo, 16 of 25 for 172. He did have a pick, but it was really more about Dallas's complete lack of execution in key moments that was the difference in that game. Nothing against San Francisco at all, but Dallas had plenty of opportunities.
I mean, 14 penalties, 9 in the second half. The HSC product, Randy Gregory, had some big ones as well. And Jake, watching Deebo Samuel is pretty fun. They use him in a very unique way. You don't see a lot of wideouts lining up in the backfield as much as they do with Samuel. And now I think the question becomes their injuries on defense. Nick Bosa, concussion protocol in a short week. Fred Warner, their star linebacker on a short week. Because that line, we talked about it earlier, Green Bay favored by 4.5 is what it has opened up at. To me, that's a little bit low based off the injury situation for San Francisco.
10 catches for 72 yards and a touch for Deebo Samuel. Other winners in Wild Card Weekend, Tampa over Philly 31-15. No big surprise there. Kansas City, I said it, Pittsburgh's going to shock the world. They got up 7-0. I thought, here we go.
I could hear you screaming.
Let the
TJ
comments
Watt
roll in. Everybody's going to say I'm a genius.
That fumble back.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes had other ideas. Kansas City over Pittsburgh 42-21. Buffalo on Saturday over New England 47-17. It was the Bengals over the Raiders 26-19. College basketball last night, Villanova all over Butler. Things not going well for the Bulldogs. 82-42, 40-point losers yesterday, Kevin.
You know, Jake, we don't say this often, or at least haven't said this often, really at all about Butler, but I've said it a lot this year. They look outclassed. They look like they are a Horizon League team playing a Big East opponent.
That's a good way of saying it, yeah.
More often than not. Michigan State at home. Remember early in the year, here's a home game, all this hype around it at Hinkle. I don't know how they beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma, but 9-7, 2-3 in the Big East, and their biggest loss in nearly 30 years.
It is Dr. Martin Luther King Day today, by the way, and that means that college basketball and NBA games, the times are just a little bit different than normal. For example, Purdue in Illinois taking on... Do they stop at the Beef House on the way over, do you think?
Well, honestly, you got to celebrate a win maybe afterwards. Zach Edey, Travion Williams could put back a lot.
That's right. Noon tip, so it'll be like a late lunch for them if they decide to do that. Purdue at Illinois. Illini on a 6-game win streak, ranked 24th. Fifth-ranked Purdue has won 2 in a row.
Purdue an underdog in that, Jake. 1.5-point underdog.
It's a tough place to play, right? I like Brad Underwood and what he's done in Illinois, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Indiana and Nebraska, the Hoosiers still searching for their first true road win on the year. They are 0-4. That game tips at 6 o'clock. It is Notre Dame and Howard at 2:30 today. That's a game that you said was supposed to be a year ago, right? And for the Dr. King holiday? Correct,
yeah. Mike Brad, some ties to the D.C. area, wanted to schedule that game against a historically black college. So I think Eric Atkins, one of their former point guards, I believe is on the staff of Howard. So, yeah, that will be a 2:30 game. Then we've got a matinee. No JMV today. 3 o'clock, Pacers and Clippers coverage. That tip is at 3:30 from the Staples Center. Scotty pointed out earlier, Jake, you've got the doubleheader at the Staples Center today. Pacers and Clippers, the early game. I think it's Jazz and Lakers, I want to say. Maybe is the nightcap there. You see no Miles Turner?
He is hurt, right?
Foot injury, seeking out a second opinion. Is that anything to do with the trade deadline coming up?
That would be my assumption. Miles Turner, to me, who is like one of his last 30 from three-point range, wonderful guy, a talented guy, but I think the expiration date has been found here.
You know, would there be only anything more Pacers related in that they can't trade Miles Turner because of this foot injury?
I mean, can you imagine?
Oh my gosh!
Go hang out with TJ Warren. You know,
Jesus, I just
one bit of racing news, by the way. Colombian Tatiana Calderon has been announced as the driver for road and street courses for AJ Foyt Racing in the car number 11 that was vacated by Sebastian Bourdais. She most recently ran Super Formulas in Japan, which is actually a pretty good series for testing the diversity of a driver. She was also an Alfa Romeo F1 test driver, road and streets.
Got IndyCar Media Day today and tomorrow?
Content Day, yep.
Cool, Content Day.
I call it Media Day as well. Today and tomorrow, I think it's at one of the hotels here. I got to look and see where it is.
We still have the 8 openings in the NFL, head coaching-wise, 3 GM. Nothing has been filled yet. Mark cannot contain his excitement over Matt Eberflus interviewing for the Bears head coaching job today.
Oh, God, I'm thrilled. I'm so excited. Ed Dodd's also interviewing today as well.
Who would you want, Mark? You're a Bears fan. Who would you want?
Of the names I've heard so far, GM-wise, Rick Smith, I'd be excited for. And then I think coaching-wise, I mean, Brian Daboll did not disappoint me over the weekend. I'd be excited to see that offense take flight in Chicago. So I think one of those two would be fine.
I saw, Kevin, I thought it was from you, actually. On Twitter, somebody, some weird science facts or whatever, and it was a picture of a dolphin brain, which is like bigger than a human brain. And the first comment underneath it was, and yet they still fired Brian Flores. That was pretty good.
That was good. I might be in the minority here, guys, but like, as a head coach, not as a GM, I thought Bill O'Brien did a fine job in Houston.
You are in the minority. That is correct. I don't disagree with you, but you're in the minority. I think Bill O'Brien...
They went to the playoffs with, Brian
Correct.
Hoyer and Brock
And they kind of
Osweiler.
seemed like they were going in the right direction, right?
Again, head coach, not GM.
I get it.
Let me make that very clear. But when you're looking at head coaching resumes, he's got to rank near one of the top.
Yeah.
As crazy as that might sound. I saw he was interviewed in Jacksonville, but I'll be curious to see Bill O'Brien gets another look and could be here in the AFC South. All right, Jeremiah Johnson is going to join us next. The Pacers on a Western road trip. We'll get some updates on Miles Turner. Sounds like Malcolm Brogdon could be back, and a 1-year anniversary for a moment that is really, seems like it's about 10 years ago for the Pacers. We'll talk with JJ about that coming up next here. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
SportsCenter updates on The Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Save $100 instantly on select sets of 4 tires from Hankook, Toyo, Continental, Nitto, General, Pirelli, Goodyear, and Nexen. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
A special offer on the pro football playoffs. Simply place a $10 moneyline wager on any game. If either team scores a touchdown, you'll win $200 in free bets regardless of your bet's outcome. Just use the bonus code THEFAN200, that's all one word, capital T, capital F, when you make your first bet. Enjoy the playoffs like never before and earn M Life Rewards that you can use for rooms and dining at any MGM resort nationwide. So download the app or go to betmgm.com, and again, use that bonus code THEFAN200 to win $200 in free bets if a touchdown is scored in a pro football playoff game. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Indiana only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Home values have skyrocketed.
And Golden Oak Lending can save you money with their low 1.875% rate.
I'm James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak. With our low rates and your increased equity, you can make home improvements or pay off debt.
Woo-hoo! Plus, skip your next 2 mortgage payments. Call 317-706-GOLD today.
Golden Oak Landing cured my blues.
NMLS 114937. 1.875% fixed. 2.952% APR. FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and approved credit.
You know you work well together as a team. Now take your team to Royal Pen and make your next corporate event fun and affordable. Royal Pen Leisure Centers offer the perfect combination of food and fun for your next group event. At Royal Pen, you don't have to be a super athlete to have a blast. Everyone's on the team when you're bowling. Bowling is a fun, affordable way to socialize and compete with your colleagues. Create team spirit without meetings, reports, or deadlines. Just good times. And keep in mind, it's always cool in our non-smoking facilities. To get the ball rolling, call Royal Pen today at 465-8484 and we'll organize your next corporate event. Get ready to trade in your wingtips and heels for a pair of bowling shoes and have fun bowling.
Set them up, knock them down, send them flying, spinning round.
For more information, call 465-8484 or look us up at royalpin.com.
Royal Pen bowling.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Only $49.99 guaranteed. Also, let Mark Patrick Hypnosis destroy unwanted food cravings and lose the weight. Stop Smoking Seminars Thursday, January 20th at the Holiday Inn in Carmel, 8 to 10 p.m. and Saturday, January 22nd at the La Quinta Inn and Suites in Indianapolis, 2 to 4 p.m. And a few weight loss seats are still available for 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Thursday, January 20th at the Holiday Inn Carmel. Registration 30 minutes before seminar.
School is in session.
Sean Salisbury.
Dan, I told you, we're in a league now. If the quarterback doesn't play better football on a consistent basis, they can get beat. You're going to have to make plays in certain moments in the postseason. Well, yesterday was a single elimination game, and I thought it was as if they thought they were playing a college team yesterday, and those guys on the other side are getting paid too. I thought it was pathetic.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
It is 28 minutes after 8 o'clock in Indianapolis. It is actually 28 minutes after 8 o'clock everywhere in the Eastern time zone. My name is Jake Query. Kevin Bowen, the other voice you hear on this program. Mark Dykton, who is hurriedly and very in a devout fashion going through every single name that the Bears are looking at for interviews today because Matt Eberflus is one of them, right, Mark?
He is.
Okay.
Yeah, him and Ed Dodds both getting interviewed today for their position.
What a day for Chicago sports.
What's that?
What a day.
With Matt Eberflus coming in?
For Chicago sports.
That's right.
there.
Joining us now on the Payless Liquors guest line, he is the sideline reporter for the Pacers television broadcast on, is it Bally Sports, Fox Sports Midwest, Indiana? Is that how you say it? It's a mouthful, right? Jeremiah Johnson joins us. Is that right, Jeremiah? Did I cover all the bases there?
We prefer to not say Fox Sports anymore. It's just Bally Sports, actually, or you could say Bally Sports Indiana.
Okay, BSI, right? Bally Sports Indiana.
Yeah, that works.
Let's begin with this. The injury to Miles Turner. You know, we were speculating your trade deadline looming. The reality is this. Nothing against Miles Turner as a guy. I think he's a wonderful person. But in terms of his playing, Jeremiah, he is in a bit of a funk. Is that a fair statement?
I think we've seen this over Miles Turner's career, that he's gone through stretches where he's shooting really well from outside the three-point arc, and there have been other times where the shots aren't falling. And he's kind of one of these confidence players, and I think you're correct. The shots aren't falling. He's been doing a little bit better job in attacking the basket, maybe more than he had earlier in his career. But I think a funk is an accurate description, at least offensively. And there have been times in the last few weeks where he's not been on the court as much as I think he would like in the fourth quarter as well. So he's out with an injury. I don't know the extent of exactly what happened or when it happened. But yeah, he'll not be available today. He is going to travel on this road trip, so we'll see whatever the second opinion reveals and if he's able to play this week.
Now, Malcolm Brogdon is playing, JJ?
That's not official yet. He's still questionable, but he did practice, and everything that he said seemed to point toward that he was going, he's going on this trip, and I think it sounded like he was planning and hoping to play against the Clippers, but I think a lot of that still for him depends upon, go out, do a little shoot around before the game, see how the Achilles feels. He did, come back, play a game, and then left that game a little less than a week ago. So you don't want to continue to come back and then not feel good when you're out there with an Achilles injury. So still not 100% yet on Malcolm Brogdon, but it did seem like he was, at least leaning towards the thought that he would play.
Again, Pacers-Clippers, 3:30 today. Bally Sports, Jeremiah Johnson joins us here on Kevin and Query. JJ, when you look at, well, I guess this might be more of a Chris Denary question, but I will throw this to you.
No, I need a big chart to answer the question with stats and hometowns.
I know how plugged in CD is to the ratings that you guys have. I was curious if the ratings for your games have increased at all since Lance Stephenson has rejoined the team.
Well, that first week we did get a little bump. And sometimes the ratings are sometimes dependent upon what's going on at the same time. And so you had one game that, Lance was back and you're going up against the National College Football Championship game. And so it really doesn't matter who you play or who's on the court. You're going to have a little bit of a dip, especially when you go year to year to, another random, weeknight game. So that Jazz game and that Brooklyn Nets game, and I think even, for a January 2nd game when Lance came back and you played the Cavaliers, there was a little slight bump. Where I've noticed the biggest difference, though, has just been at Gainbridge Fieldhouse when he gets ready to check in the game. And I know you guys were there last week. You don't even have to be paying attention, and all of a sudden you hear this kind of murmur in the crowd, and, it must be that Lance Stephenson is checking in. So to your ratings question, I don't think that it's necessarily going to show that, from the time that Lance joined the team, the ratings are off the charts. A little bit of a slight increase, I think, is what Chris has revealed, because you're right, he is. He's the ratings master. He's got it all charted out from every game I think that he's ever broadcast. But, we've seen a lot, I guess I could say a slight increase.
JJ, to me, Jeremiah Johnson is our guest on the Payless Liquors guest line. Lance Stephenson, you're right. You feel this energy when he's out there. However, now that kind of the honeymoon period of that incredible first home game is over with, I feel like he still is getting away a little bit from what Rick Carlisle, from an offensive operations standpoint, would like to see. It seems like Lance is over-dribbling into the shot clock and at times taking ill-advised shots and becoming a little bit of a black hole. Is that me being too critical?
Well, I would say the last game was not Lance's best game, but I don't know that, even like, let's say that Celtics overtime game. I mean, he was on the court in that fourth quarter, and I just feel like the game in Boston, he played pretty well. There have been times, and there are reasons why Lance was not in the NBA for the last year and a half, because I don't know that he does everything well, but I think what Lloyd Pierce told me last week was pretty accurate. They're trying to take advantage of what Lance does well, and that's get him in the pick and roll, get him with Sabonis, get him to push and transition and attack the basket. But the things that you noticed about maybe some over-dribbling, some late in the shot clock situations, and I think what's happened is after the first couple of games, the defenses and the opposition saw, okay, if Lance is on the court, this is probably what he's going to try to do, and they try to take that away. And I think the Celtics were pretty good at doing that. And so I think that they're still trying to figure things out a little bit. The honeymoon might be over just a little bit as well. You had just an unbelievable start to this. Lance Stephenson is back in Indianapolis time, and now what's going to be the norm? How can they get the good Lance more than, the things that you just brought up? And I think the jury is still out. So I'm not going to say you're going to see another 20-point first quarter. I don't think you're going to see another 14-assist game, although it's possible. But can you get 14 and 7 in 25 minutes? I mean, that would be perfect. Can you get a spark off the bench? As people start to come back, and let's say you get Caris LeVert and Malcolm Brogdon on the court for a longer period of time, you might not need as much from Lance Stephenson, and maybe you just get that spark on those home games. Shooting is never going to be the thing that they're going to rely on from Lance Stephenson, and if one of those shots does fall early, it does give him more confidence, but can they get him connecting with Domantas Sabonis in a pick and roll? And he is a really good passer. So if he's whipping a pass to the corner, can that shot go in? And can they take advantage of some of those things? So, we probably expect a little too much now after we didn't have that many expectations when he first joined the team in Cleveland, just because of that Brooklyn and Utah game. But I think we just have to kind of still, acknowledge that it's pretty early in this Lance Stephenson is back experience, and see what happens moving forward.
JJ, I was never a fan of running it back with this personnel, but I'd be lying to you if I thought they'd be 13 games under 500, just past the midway point of the year. To this point of the season, now that we are past the midway point, what has been the most shocking aspect to the Pacers being 13th in the Eastern Conference?
Just they've never really been able to sustain anything. I think they've just win a couple of games, and then they take a step back, and they've struggled. I look at a couple of stats that I can't believe they've yet to win a game this season when they're trailing at halftime or tied. I think there are now 19 or 20 or 21 of those situations, and they've only won one time when trailing to start the fourth quarter. And then the numbers that Chris brings up a lot when the game is close late is the clutch numbers, where they're so poor in that situation. That's the reason why they have the record that they do. They're still right around even in terms of point differential, which is kind of remarkable. But it seems like around the NBA, there's so many times you see a score at halftime and you say, okay, well, somebody's going to make a run. They're going to come back. If the Pacers get off to good starts, they'll be in good shape most of the time. But if they don't get off to a good start, they've just been unable to come from behind. And so I feel like sometimes I'm shocked that they just can't find that, extra spark to come from behind and to win a game. Or also, if the game's close late, it feels like Groundhog's Day a little bit, that, the other team's going to make the play or they're not going to be able to hit the shot. And that surprises me because they've got a lot of veterans. It's not a young team. So that's, kind of a long-winded way of answering your question. I'm surprised they've been unable to come from behind. I'm surprised they've been unable to go on a streak of more than, I think, 3 games because the schedule allows that. At different times, you look at a team like Houston. I mean, they have one of the worst records in the NBA, but they did have a 7-game win streak at one time, and the Pacers have just been unable to have any sustained success, and that puts them where the record is right now. And I agree with you. If you'd have told me this is what would have happened when the start of the season, even with the injuries and the COVID, I probably wouldn't have believed you.
JJ, 1 year ago yesterday, I saw this, was the the Victor Oladipo for Caris LeVert trade. Is it just me, or does that feel like that was 30 years ago?
Exactly. You know, we brought that up on our broadcaster text chat. It does seem like it was such a long time ago. And, you know, Victor Oladipo's career's not really taken off since then. Caris LeVert had that health scare. And the one thing you can say is you're glad that he's healthy. And when he's been able to play, I still think he's a really good player. But I think that they're still trying to kind of figure out what's the best next step for he and for this team. But it does seem like my whole sense of time in the last 2+ years is just out the window. It's like the last time I saw a Pacers team play on the road. You know, you go back to Dallas, March of 2020. I mean, that's just crazy.
JJ, sometimes I'm the last to like pick up on something. This is particularly true with pop culture. But so this is probably like the most well-known fact ever. Maybe I'll ask Kevin this, and then we'll see if Jeremiah. I'm gonna give him
some time.
Well, I'm gonna give Kevin a statement, and then we'll see if Kevin was aware of this already, and then you, Jeremiah, be the judge and jury on how out of touch the two of us are that neither of us knew this like a month ago. Okay, my friend Jeff Page, who's a former radio guy here in Indy, pointed this out to me. Are you familiar, Kevin, with the mid-'80s song Casanova? I'm your Casanova.
Yeah,
me and Romeo.
Know the name, but
okay,
not much besides that.
Jeremiah, do you know the connection here?
I do not.
Okay, good. Then because I didn't either. The band that sings that song is LeVert, which are like the uncles of Caris LeVert. He comes from a musical family, and his family are the guys that sang that song. Now, did you know that?
Now that you say that, I remember hearing that, yeah.
So the question is, since we're on the 1-year anniversary, is Caris LeVert with the Pacers going to be a 1-year wonder and sent out, or is he long-term?
Look at that. That was good.
Thank you. Well, that's
and if the season keeps on going down this path,
I've been answering these for a long time. Yeah. I'm the wrong person to ask for, reading the tea leaves and telling you where trades are going to happen. I would say in the next month, anything could happen. And, I think that the Pacers are trying to do the best that they can to make them, better for the future and to make sure seasons like this don't happen. And so, you look at Caris LeVert's contract situation, you know that he's got this year and then next, and they'll need to figure something out and decide who of this core that they did run it back with is a group that you want to keep and which ones you'll want to use and try to help the team get better.
Probably a better way of saying this, Jeremiah, would be this, and that is, in your opinion, Jeremiah Johnson is our guest from Bally Sports Pacers coverage. In your opinion, is this team, a few minor tweaks away from being pretty competitive and taking a big step, or is it a team that does need an overhaul?
Well, I think you could probably go either direction. Now, I think they're probably a few steps away from being, 4th or 5th in the Eastern Conference, but I think that everyone has a goal of being better than that. So if they were healthy, if TJ Warren was playing and they closed out some of these games, I could see them right now in that, 6 or 7 range. But I'm not 100% convinced that they have the pieces right now to be, Eastern Conference finalist contenders. And that's where this team was, 2013, 2014, and that's where they want to get back to. Because if you're in, the conference finals, you're in the Final Four, and you're in the discussion for doing anything. This was a team and a franchise that gave LeBron James's, Heat teams the best game in the playoffs, the best challenge of pretty much anybody for a short period of time in the Eastern Conference. So, I don't know that they're a tweak away from being there right now. I mean, I don't think they started this season saying that this was a championship contending team. They wanted to take that next step, and to be perfectly honest, at where they are at right now, they've taken a step backwards. So I think it's causing everyone to reevaluate everything. And, individual players, will they be here in the middle of February? What will happen in June? I think it's worth watching, and I know that, the front office folks are doing everything they can to try to, exhaust all situations and scenarios and to make sure a season like this or a first half like this doesn't repeat itself. But I do think there is an opportunity when you start to get guys back. I mean, TJ Warren, it's tough to think about him because he's been gone for so long. You go back, Kevin brought up the trade in January. Well, before that, it was, doesn't it seem like it's a long time since we saw TJ Warren play basketball? The way he plays in the position he plays, they don't have anyone else right now that can do what TJ Warren does, and so that's really hurt them this year. And I don't know, when he comes back, what he'll be able to do, but that's really affected things.
The rare 3:30 tip today for the Pacers, again, at the Clippers. Couple 10 o'clockers coming later this week with the Western Conference road trip, the second one of the season here. JJ, have a great call today, and your coverage, I assume, begins right at 3, right?
Yep, 3 o'clock on BSI, as Jake Query likes
That's
to
right.
say.
That's right.
Yeah, not BSI and FSMI or whatever the other
And
call
then we'll have
letters.
the coffee pod game on Wednesday night with the Lakers coming on at 10 o'clock for Pacers Live.
And then Warriors is pretty late too, right?
It is,
Thursday?
although it was just announced last week that I think maybe Klay Thompson had something to do with it,
Yeah,
but that game's
TNT.
been picked up by TNT. So that'll be radio coverage only locally. Nationally, the game will be on TNT on Thursday.
JJ, have a great call today.
Maybe we could have a watch party. You guys going to be able to stay up for those 10:30 games?
Jake
when you
will.
got a radio
Hell
show
yeah.
at 7?
Oh, yeah,
come on.
Jake will be
Sleep's
locked
overrated.
in.
Come on.
Jake doesn't even go to bed.
No,
That is correct.
No. Right now he's rocking this jacket, JJ. I don't know if you have this in your closet, but if you're looking for something,
Do you not like this jacket?
well, you
very
look like
warm.
it's Top Gun.
Yeah, well, it's an Air Force fighter jacket, thank you, but it's freezing in here. I mean, is it just me or is it freezing in
Well,
here?
it is. Jeremiah, if you're looking for a different jacket, check out the YouTube stream, and Jake can get you covered for a game later this
Have him
season.
tweet me a picture. I haven't figured out what I was going to wear yet today, so everything's on the table.
The next Top Gun night at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, Jeremiah Johnson can borrow Jake Query's hat or jacket.
Should I zip
right
it all the
now.
way up
JJ, thank you for the time.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's Jeremiah Johnson right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Jake, I will say this probably in the next couple of weeks several times. I do find this actually an exciting time for the Pacers because I believe change is on the horizon. And
I would agree.
I think that's exciting. I think it's about time, about bleeping time, you could probably say. But I do think with the trade deadline, February 10th, it's a very intriguing time. And I just hope, and this is very selfish of me, but you hope the Miles Turner injury situation does not impact his trade value here in the next couple of weeks. All right, if you missed it earlier, we'll replay the Jeff Saturday interview coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. We come back, we'll get into some of those Chris Ballard comments from this past week, and if his free agency approach will be altering after missing the playoffs here in 2021. Kevin Bowe and Jake Query, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Justina. But since she is so focused on growing her career, we hired an actor to read her story.
At Geico, I receive support from those above me. If you want to move up, you really have that relationship and encouragement.
As a full-time employee, she can even get paid training and tuition reimbursement. Yep, there's no stopping her now. She's even taken over book club.
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.job/Indy.
Bet Rivers Sportsbook wants you to experience Rush Pay. When you want to cash out your winnings, you don't want to wait 2 days just to get the go-ahead to withdraw your money. That's why Bet Rivers created Rush Pay. With Rush Pay, 80% of withdrawal requests are approved instantly, meaning you'll get your money faster. Why wait? Get your cash when you want it. Bet with a winner. Bet with Bet Rivers Sportsbook at betrivers.com. Must be 21 and located in Indiana. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448.
Switch to Spectrum Mobile and get unlimited data for only $29.99 per month each when you get 2 or more lines. You could save hundreds on your mobile bill. Plus, there are no added taxes, hidden fees, and no contracts. Try the Spectrum Mobile Savings Calculator today, and in 3 easy steps, you'll see how much you could save. Visit SpectrumMobile.com/save. Offer valid for new customers on 2 or more unlimited lines. Spectrum Internet required. Restrictions apply. Visit SpectrumMobile.com for details.
The Eagles Hotel California Tour.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Live in concert with a full orchestra. Performing their iconic album Hotel California, beginning to end, plus a greatest hits set. The Eagles, Gamebridge Fieldhouse, March 22nd. Get tickets now with Ticketmaster.com.
Did you know Amazon provides ways of working that fit your lifestyle? They know you value your time outside of work, juggling family, school, friends, or other activities. That's why they offer a variety of shifts that work for you. There are full-time, part-time, and even temporary opportunities that can work with your schedule, with great starting pay and sign-on bonuses. If you want a career that fits and adapts to your lifestyle, head to Amazon.com/apply. Amazon is a proud equal opportunity employer.
97.1 Hank FM presents Acoustic Stars and Guitars. One night of music for country superstars. Starring Gabby Barrett.
Just trying to catch a good time.
Nico Moon. Morgan Evans.
Sometimes you gotta kiss somebody.
And Tennille Arts. Wednesday, February 9th at Old National Center. Don't miss 97.1 Hank FM's Acoustic Stars and Guitars. Tickets at the door and at hankfm.com.
At Kroger, fresh groceries are our thing, so we check your delivery order for freshness at every step from farm to store and pick and pack every veggie in your free pickup order with care, because we treat your food the way we'd want ours to be treated. We're fresh every day, so shop anyway. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
Now's the time to stock up and save during the Kroger Big Pack sale. You'll get big deals on big packs of hundreds of items throughout the store. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Join me noon to 3 today. Wild Card Weekend was certainly wild. IU basketball with Don Fisher. Sean Salisbury stops by. Can't wait. Let's go. Noon to 3 today.
You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
So here's the easiest way to say this. This song, Casanova, is by the band LeVert. The band LeVert are two sons of Eddie LeVert, who was the lead singer of the OJs. Eddie is the third cousin of Pacer Caris LeVert.
Third cousin.
Now, I'm a genealogy expert, and I can tell you that third cousin means actually that would mean that two people above him. So Caris LeVert's great-grandfather and somebody else's great-grandfather were cousins. So they are on the third line of one another if you trickle it down.
I'm not even sure if I even know who my third cousins are.
Now, I will tell you this. Do you have a cousin that has kids?
Currently pregnant, yeah.
Okay. So your cousin who's expecting is, what's the name?
Taylor.
Okay, so Taylor is your first cousin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when Taylor has a child, that child will be what to you? Mark, do you know the answer to this? Mark goes with second cousin. That is incorrect.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
It would be your first cousin once removed. Now, that child is Rosie, your daughter's second cousin, because they are of the second line.
Got it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense there.
There's a quiz later on all this. By the way, a pop quiz coming up in 39 minutes from right now.
Is genealogy one of your electives?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I am.
Syllabus week for genealogy class right there.
I am, in fact, taking classes online through Indiana University to complete my degree. 700,000 Hoosiers, by the way, have left credits out there. And I thought, Kevin, Mark, admittedly, there were two urban legends when I was in college that were wildly out there. The first was that if your roommate passes away during the semester, you get a 4.0. Right?
Well, why would that Mark Paul Gosselaar movie lie to us? Didn't you ever see that one?
No, is that...
Yeah, it was like Dead Man on Campus. His roommate
Screech?
Died, and he got straight A's. That was a plot of a movie in the 90s.
Yeah, well, I got news for you. Like,
hell of a director for
I'd
that
have
movie.
missed Marcus Turner, but that 4.0, I mean, come on, right? The other urban legend was that I think most people, myself included, assume that credits expire and that after a certain time, you can't go back and complete them.
They can't take those away from you.
That is correct. And so in order to just kind of get the word out there, you know, I'm kind of partnering with Indiana to do this. And the biggest challenge for me, quite frankly, Kevin, has been not necessarily the material, which I'm enjoying. I'm taking currently a public relations class. I'm also taking a class on music theory. I was in a broadcast media class, but it turns out I didn't need it. And then I'm taking a class on British horror films coming up.
Oh, gosh.
That'll be wonderful, right?
Can't wait.
Look, it's a ghost.
Can't wait for that to creep into the show.
That's the second part of the semester. But the technological aspect of it, using the different, you know, Firefox and video slides and stuff, I mean, that's going to be a learning curve for me for certain.
Well, does it seem like to you that the Victor Oladipo, Caris LeVert trade happened last time you were in college?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, and Oladipo is one. I'm going to watch the Miami Heat game tonight.
His career's dead.
You would think, right? I mean, look, he took a gamble on himself, theoretically turned down a 4-year, $80 million deal here to cash in on a big paycheck, and then the injury kept, you know, it crept back up for him. And it's unfortunate. I watch a lot of the Heat games, and when I watch it, they will show him on the sidelines. Oh, he is Miami's TJ Warren, right? Oh, next week, there's been a progress.
I kind of forget he's even on that team.
I know. And I mean, he's on a team with Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero, and it's going to be. He's a wonderful talent if he's healthy. But even still, it's going to be, one would think, difficult for him to get minutes, right?
The Pacers' record, and again, yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of that Oladipo-LeVert trade, which, I gave Kevin Pritchard a ton of credit, and I still, looking back on it, the Pacers got, even though LeVert has not been the player you thought he would be, he's been better than Oladipo's been over the last year. Obviously, health, unfortunately, has impacted both of them. The Pacers are 40-62, Jake. Since that trade.
Man. Look.
40-62.
The Pacers. The Pacers, to me, it feels like Butler basketball. And by that, let me explain. When you had Paul George, you drafted Paul George, and he blossoms before your very eyes, and it's like, oh my goodness, we've got a star. And then he moves on. So you parlay that into a trade for Oladipo and Sabonis. Oh my goodness, we've got a star. And he, being Oladipo, moves on. And now you've got Sabonis, and oh my goodness, we've got a double-double factory. But what's going to happen here in terms of Miles Turner, and do they need to make a trade? And you're going back to that well again. And I look at Butler basketball, and they make a Sweet 16 run, and Todd Licklider, oh my gosh, we've got a coach, and he leaves. And then, obviously Thad Matta first, then Todd Licklider, then Brad Stevens. My goodness, we have a star among stars. He leaves. Chris Holtman. Did Butler themselves, have they reached the end of the line of the well internally? You mentioned Ronald Norred, which is a good point, who's on the Pacers bench, but both those situations just feel the same to me. But in the Pacers case, Kevin, you wonder if they can, in fact, turn these pieces again into a cornerstone.
Yeah, I think Turner, as long as this foot injury isn't anything that's going to freak teams out here, and LeVert could get you back something. I mean, you might have to turn those pieces, and they might just be draft picks. Ultimately in this market, I'll say it 1,000 times, if you aren't hitting on draft picks, you might as well not even take the job, because Indiana, similar to what it is in Memphis or Utah or Denver or Milwaukee, other teams that have built nice cores, you've got to be able to hit on draft picks. But again, as much as the losing absolutely stinks and the Pacers have lost 9 of 10, I do think this is an intriguing time. We come back here on Kevin and Corey. We'll get into the free agency approach of Chris Ballard, if his comments last week influence anything one way or the other on that. And Jeff Saturday, we'll replay that interview for you to close things out later in the 9 o'clock hour. Kevin Bowen, Jake Query, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Put on your helmet. It's about to get real.
Somebody explain to me why Frank Reich and Chris Ballard aren't on the hot seat. 7 Pro Bowlers, 2 chances to get to the playoffs. You can't win a freaking game against a 2-win team. I give a damn that the Colts are choke artists that don't have any toughness in them. You can't fire these guys? Are you insane?
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Join 93.1 WIBC right down the dial as Indiana University takes on the Nebraska Cornhuskers this Monday night. Pre-game starts at 5 p.m. with a 6 p.m. game time.
Hey, are you a single professional man looking for a life mate? If your do-it-yourself approach for finding her isn't getting you the results you want, why not hire a pro, like me, so you can take your game to a new level? I'm Amy Owens, singles coach and matchmaker. Maybe you've been looking for a while, or maybe you're newly divorced or widowed and haven't had a date in years, even decades. I can offer you tips, strategies, and introductions to some of Indy's finest single women. These ladies are active, attractive, fit, smart, accomplished, and financially self-sufficient. The only thing missing from their lives is the love and companionship of a good man. If that's you, please give me a call at 317-727-6331. That's 727-6331. Or check out my website, blueribbonsingles.com. Why Blue Ribbon Singles? Because it's the winners who get the blue ribbon.
We're getting a plumbing issue fixed this week at our house, and luckily we're able to do it because it saved a little bit of money with Golden Oak Lending, and they are in the mortgage business looking to help all of us save in that very area. If you've been stuck at home with an unfinished home improvement project staring back at you, you can all of a sudden take care of that thanks to Golden Oak Lending. They've done it again. They've dropped their rates even lower to 1.875%. And while home values are still soaring, which means right now is the best time to refinance with Golden Oak. Home financing has language all its own, but Golden Oak Lending speaks mortgage and loves translating it for customers. For example, refinancing today means that you're going to save on your mortgage and you're going to talk to local loan officers that are right here in the Indianapolis area. They know our market and can make refinancing and buying a breeze. Home values are skyrocketing, which means even if you haven't refinanced in the last year, you could still save money with Golden Oak Lending's 1.875% rate. With your increased home equity, right now is the best time to refinance with Golden Oak Lending. Getting started couldn't be easier either. Golden Oak's free mortgage checkup, it's risk-free. There's no paperwork or credit card required. So just call 317-706-GOLD to find out how much money you could save each month. That's 317-706-GOLD, or head to goldenoaklending.com right now to see what your home equity can do for you. NMLS 114937, 1.875% fixed, 2.952% APR. FHA 15-year mortgage with 20% equity and improved credit.
93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
The Pacers are in L.A. for a matinee with the Clippers. This afternoon at 3 on 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan. It's Kevin and Query.
We'll have some classes at times.
Hey, we're calling the plays, all right?
Hey, we gotta run the ball. It's down
when we pass, watch. We'll run the ball.
Can we run it down there?
Just play.
We run it down.
Yeah, Jeff.
Okay, so
we will. All right, when we call pass plays, block.
On 93.5
Boom, baby.
and 107.5, The Fan.
9 o'clock hour. Kevin and Query. Jake Query in his Maverick jacket back in studio with us here to close out the show. I got worried about you for a second there.
I actually was watching something on my phone and stepped aside so that I didn't interrupt the audio of your Golden Oaks lending spot, so my apologies. I was not very keen on the clock.
No.
Do you not like the jacket? I can't tell if you like it.
No, I do. I just think
Mark,
it
your
is. It
thoughts?
literally looks like a scene from Top Gun.
Solid. I just assume you were doing your Matthew McConaughey impression on like just leaning against the wall, hoping someone's like, "Man, that guy's cool. Check him out."
Well, there's not a lot of people in the building today.
I know.
For that.
What'd you say? I wear my jacket tomorrow on the radio.
The Chris Ballard comments from last week, Jake. We talked a little bit about this earlier.
He has a little McConaughey in him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I could see that. Jim Irsay's "all chips in" phrase that he used outside of the plane engine on Friday. Do you think that was in any reference to at your disposal, draft picks, free agency cap space? Use it. Use it all, Chris. Finally, we need to
Good
adjust
question.
our thinking and our use of resources.
I think it more so meant, and that's a really interesting way of saying it, or looking at it. I personally think it more meant, that all chips in has become kind of a euphemism in sports, right? Of putting everything on the table.
Yeah, like the Rams.
Yeah. Like I know that Dabo Swinney at Clemson, all the players get a little poker chip that has the Clemson paw on it. Carry your chip, and then everybody puts them in a thing at before game day, that kind of thing. Spend your chip. Everything's going all in. I think it just is a phrase meaning I want people on this franchise, from players to coaches and everything else, that stop at nothing to win. And I think that means, and here's the thing, Kevin, I go back to, doesn't every owner say that? I mean, like, is the owner of the Arizona Cardinals like, yeah, I mean, it's cool to have guys that want to win, but, I'll just take some talent. I'm not overly concerned about it. I would expect an owner to say exactly that. And actions speak louder than words. I know that Jim Irsay was, for the first time, it's not the first time I've seen him irritated, but maybe to that level. But I think it meant two things. I think it meant, first off, for the players, look, Voluntary OTAs, I know that technically speaking they're voluntary. They're not. We can't do anything to you if you don't show up to something that's voluntary, but we can judge you, and I'll judge you for it. And if push comes to shove and your job is on the line and you're a guy that wasn't here during a voluntary time, you're gone. I'm going to give I think it's more so saying that kind of thing. I know that people get, and I understand it. I'm not saying that I'm not one of them. People get fatigued by the vaccine conversation with Carson Wentz and Darius Leonard and Quentin Nelson and Ryan. I get it. I totally understand it. And like I said, I'm not in any way, shape, or form laying my stake on either side of that discussion or argument, except for to say that when your owner at the beginning of the year makes it very clear he would prefer that his players be vaccinated, if you exercise your free right and liberty as an American to not get the vaccine, which is your right, then you are facing the potential or putting yourself in position to face the consequences for it. And Carson Wentz, at the end of the year, he had the misfortune of being the one that tested positive, quite frankly, at the worst possible time. And he did not look good. And, but Jake, there were other guys, too, that were, I understand that, but the quarterback is held to a totally, breaking news here, NFL quarterbacks, Kevin, are held to a different and higher standard.
Yeah, and, I mean, you and I are on the same page in that, like, when we talk about this, we are going back to what Jim Irsay said at the start of the year. And Jim Irsay was the one that was extremely outspoken in his disappointment
and
over
that's
the vaccination status.
Kevin,
and
people think that this is us saying this. No. We're talking about the owner.
Right. And that's when you hear the all chips in comment. And again, the phrase he used to follow up, all chips in to anyone walking into West 56th Street. That to me is an indication that he's bringing that back up. And like you said, Jake, the quarterback obviously carries the most weight with how much money he makes and what you gave up for him. On that free agency front and Ballard, like we heard from Frank Reich last Monday. We heard from Chris Ballard last Thursday after the Jim Irsay meeting. And I mean, Frank Reich and Chris Ballard are smart human beings that know full well what their words or what they don't say, what those mean. And I think the Jim Irsay tone in that Sunday night meeting after the Jacksonville loss had some influence, specifically about Carson Wentz, on the non-committal approach from Frank Reich on Monday, and then Chris Ballard being also non-committal, but I thought Ballard was a little bit more critical. And really, he talked about the quarterback position much more than he usually does in that Thursday presser. But when I hear the free agency, like, okay, is the approach going to change? I don't get that vibe, really. I asked Ballard pretty directly, 5 years in, your roster building. Are you changing it or not? And he was like, well, it's a good question. It's something that I've thought about, but you know my philosophy on free agency. He still believes kind of in his building, and I don't. Are you taking econ, Jake, at all in your?
No, I can tell you anything having to do with numbers, zero chance.
No chance. That's
but
up on the.
I don't need to take econ to know that the Colts have some guys on the hook for some big time money, right?
Well, yes, but like, think about the free agency market, Jake, and supply and demand.
Right.
You can go in with your set values, but Jake, NFL free agency is not CVS or Walgreens, where you just drive every couple miles, and if you don't have it at one store, you're going to get it at another store.
If you sign a free agent, do you get a receipt that's like 9 miles long?
Probably depends on who the free agent
Coupons
is.
For your later quarterback.
Oh, $2 off toothpaste next time. Cool.
Like, it just seems like Ballard believes that here are my prices, and I'm not wavering. It's like, that's not how it works. If you want to get those players, to Jeff Saturday's point earlier, there's no transfer portal. Like, there's no 5 stars that just grow on trees in the NFL. You've got to be able to be flexible and adjust. And the Denico Autry example last year couldn't be more of a real-life example of Ballard being stubborn and very stuck with his price value. And when the Titans say, hey, we'll increase your guarantee a little bit earlier, knowing that you're a little bit older. And probably, I mean, how do you not think about this? John Robinson, their GM, has to think, if you don't come here, you go back to our division rival. Right. So it matters a little bit more to us.
It's a bonus, right?
Yeah. So, like, that is where I'd like to see, and based off his words last week, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Ballard needs to change his approach because when he has used free agency, there's been hits. It's just he hasn't used it enough.
But when Jim Irsay talks about like we're all in, all chips in, etc., that tells me he's also saying like it doesn't matter what it costs me. I mean, Jim Irsay, look, Carson Wentz is owed what, 25, 28 million next year? I think it's 25. If Jim Irsay's got to write a hollow check to get him to go away, I'm not saying he's going to do that, but you really think that Jim Irsay would think twice about that?
Right. I mean, he gave Andrew Luck $25 million to hopefully come back one day.
I think what he is saying about kind of indirectly, I think he's also saying, or he is frustrated at the fact that he would like to make upgrades. I don't think personally, and again, I want to make clear, this is not me reporting this. This is just my gut. I don't think Jim Irsay wants Carson Wentz as his quarterback. And
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
And it's 19.7 the price tag for a Derek Carr, for example, who has a year left on that contract. 1 year left at 19.7. I think Irsay's got to be frustrated, Kevin, over the fact that if you go to Chris Ballard and you go, look, we got to upgrade the quarterback position. This guy's not reliable. When it came down to it and the season was on the line, he wasn't reliable. Flat out. Couldn't rely on him. So I want to move on from it. Okay, who do you want? I don't know. I like Derek Carr. He's a good player. He's a man of faith like Carson Wentz is, so he brings, you still have that. He's community involved. But his teammates seem to love him. He throws an accurate ball. Let's go get Derek Carr. I'm just speaking hypothetically. And then Chris Ballard goes, well, Vegas wants a first-round pick. We don't have one? Well, not this year. I mean, sure, they may take your next year's first round, but then you're going to go 2 years in a row without a first-round pick. I think if you are, in fact, Jim Irsay, you've got to be a little bit unhappy as the way things have been set up in terms of your future capital.
Dustin says this, free agency spending has to be calculated. If you go crazy, it doesn't work. Successful GM in Polian was not big on free agent signings. Ballard follows the same approach, which has proven to work. Difference is Polian had a QB. Ballard doesn't. Polian also hit on Hall of Fame talent at extremely important positions in wide receiver and pass rusher. Right. And I think that is what really separates it. And it started in that era, but the NFL is even more pass happy than it was, obviously, 15 years ago.
Well, the Colts, Polian had a lot to do with the changes with the competition committee after the Colts-Patriots game in one of those years about, contact at the line and things like that, that even further accelerated the passer-friendly nature of the league. I mean, the Colts were a part of that. I just
think we have such a, people get so turned off by free agency, and I'm like, it can be a useful tool to patching up some holes on your. Is it how you build your team? No, but I'm watching the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday or on Saturday, and Trey Hendrickson, who they get in free agency, has given them a pass rusher that now has put them in position to where they have these great young drafted talents on offense. And now they've got enough of a defense to get over the hump and win one of the more competitive divisions in football. When your roster building has got you to this point 5 years into it, to me, if you aren't tweaking, I think you're being stubborn, and you should expect the same results you've had over the past few years.
Hey, Jake, are we talking about the damn vaccine still? Let it go. Again, I get it, but it is a factor. I don't like it any more than anybody else. I don't like talking about it more than anybody else, believe me. I wish I never had to say it again, but it's my job to talk about what is going on with the Indianapolis Colts. And if you think that wasn't a factor in Jim Irsay's assessment of Carson Wentz, then you are too stupid to listen to this radio show. Plain and simple, right?
SW goes, honestly, I think Irsay is just posturing all this talk to keep fans engaged. There won't be much change in 2022.
That's possible. I mean, they're kind of pigeonholed in a lot of areas, right?
Right. I mean, we've gone down the changes list. Ballard, no. Reich, no. Eberflus, sounds like no. So then the next kind of couple changes are Carson Wentz, free agency approach. Those, to me, seem to be the biggest ones that you could make. Mitchell brings up, obviously, the Patriots and what they did in free agency and helped them make the playoffs. Yeah, again, in no way are you building your roster, but you think about the Colts and how they've made the playoffs. Eric Ebron was a huge factor in making the playoffs, a free agent signing. Denico Autry, a huge, those types of pieces. Again, I think Ballard's done a nice job when he has gone into free agency. It's just not going into it enough. And the other thing you have to keep in mind, Jake, is when you don't have a first-round pick this year, that's a huge roster building tool. So if you don't have the same draft capital, a lot of these drafts, the Colts have had even an extra second-round pick. They do not have that. I know Nick's been hanging on. He wanted to join in on the conversation about the Colts free agency approach. Nick, good Monday morning to you.
Morning, Kevin, and morning, Professor Query. I love the jacket, man.
Thanks, man. It's freezing in here. I appreciate it.
I was going to call you Goose, but I thought that was too cliche. But anyway.
Professor Goose has got a good ring.
That's right.
Professor Goose. Okay, Kevin, roll with it. All right. I got to disagree with the Derek Carr idea. I just think with 1 year left of this contract, that's another Band-Aid. What are your thoughts on this? I think we got a solid core of a roster. I think we've demonstrated that. But obviously, our chief GM, our frugal GM, is not going to really go hog wild unless they're willing to make an acquisition that's going to last the duration of this contract. Like if we were to go all in on a Russell Wilson and sacrifice a couple of first-rounders. Because he doesn't have a reputation for using first-rounders anyway. And if he does, he trades them for more picks. But in this case, we got to trade them for a more reliable QB. What are you guys' thoughts on this? The quarterbacks right now in the draft are really they're dropping. If you haven't looked, like a Desmond Ridder, if you look at a kid like him, do we have a strong enough roster that could support a rookie quarterback and develop him through the remainder of the Reich-Ballard regime and still have what we need to get to the playoffs? Or is a Jimmy Garoppolo a better solution? Because look what he did last night. I mean, they have a similar system to us. Or because they say they're committed to Trey Lance. What do you think is a more realistic option between those two? Because I don't think we're going to – I don't see a major – meltdown there.
I think the roster is such that you get a quarterback that can win for you now, Kevin, as opposed to setting yourself back 2 years, right? I mean, the problem...
Can you find that in a Mac Jones-like? He was such a unique prospect.
I know, but he was also taken in the first half of the first round, right?
Fair.
I mean, the challenge the Colts have is this. Let's use it in Pacers terms, okay? If the Colts were an NBA franchise... Their best players are power forward, 7-foot back to the basket, Roy Hibbert level center, and defensive-minded point guard. Those are three really nice players. But in the 2022 NBA, I don't know that they win you games.
No, that's not how you build 1, 2,
and when your
3
team's best players are, probably guard, running back, and middle linebacker. Okay, I mean, those are nice pieces. But the pieces where your best player, if you look at the teams that we're talking about, what are their best players? Wide receiver, quarterback, probably corner. Those are the areas where you've got to be elite. And I just don't know that the Colts are right now.
What would worry me about Garoppolo is the injury history. And I think when you talk about him and or Carr, Jake, well, I do think Derek Carr is an upgrade over Carson Wentz. Is it an upgrade enough to get you out of where you are right now? Like, would Carr or Garoppolo on this team mean the Colts are playing next weekend?
I think Carr or Garoppolo at their best I don't know that they are that much better than Carson Wentz. I just think they're more reliable. I think you have a better percentage chance of knowing what you're getting one game to the next than you do with Carson Wentz.
And if you were to give up, I've
completely turned on Carson Wentz, admittedly.
Yeah, let's just throw out a hypothetical: a second-round pick for Derek Carr. And, I don't know, maybe a fourth down the road. So if you're giving up your second rounder this year, that means you're not drafting until round 3.
It's rough.
Can you go out in free agency and spend something to where, all right, Derek, you're going to come here and you're going to have a little bit more support. And we should also acknowledge, I would think of Carr or Garoppolo. Garoppolo is more likely to be on the block than Carr. The Raiders don't have a Trey Lance waiting in the wings. Marcus Mariota is a free agent quarterback. So I would think Garoppolo, albeit his team has gotten further in the playoffs, I think he would be more available than a Derek Carr would.
Right. I'm going for consistency and reliability. Plain and simple, right? Time now for a Big O Tires Sportscenter update.
The Sports Center update on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan is presented by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Kevin Bowen, I've got basketball of both the professional and college variety. I've got auto racing. I've got NFL news. What would you like to start with?
It's kind of a busy college slate here in Indiana today, so let's go there.
It is. As a matter of fact, fewer than 3 hours. Is it fewer or less than? See, this is the kind of thing I'll learn in my college classes.
Maybe that econ class you had.
That's right, that I dropped. Under 3 hours from now, Purdue is in Champaign taking on Illinois. That is a noon tip. Keep in mind, this is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, Dr. Martin Luther King Day here in the United States. And so games being moved around a little bit to pay homage to that. Purdue in Illinois taking on the Illini. 6 straight for Brad Underwood's Fighting Illini. Purdue comes in with a 2-game win streak. The Illini, 24th ranked, and Purdue again coming in at 14-2. Indiana and Nebraska. That's a 6 o'clock tip. You heard Don Fisher mention it. You can hear it. On 93 WIBC, 6 o'clock tonight. Indiana 0-4 on the road. Still looking for their first road win, Kevin.
If you can't win in Nebraska, then oh boy, IU's favored by 9.
That is such a weird. Fred Hoiberg, I know that there are probably people that are like, are they going to move on from Fred Hoiberg? I mean, he falls into the prime category, right? Of what else is Nebraska going to get?
Exactly. This is one you got to get if you're Indiana. 6-12 on the year. Nebraska 0-7 for their Big Ten slate. And then Indiana-Purdue will meet Thursday in Bloomington. So we'll see if any looking ahead. Indiana probably a little bit more than Purdue, given Illinois being a really quality opponent for the Boilers.
Notre Dame is taking on Howard. That is a 2:30 start. Now, Howard's got 4 other guys with him, right? It's not just Howard out there, right? That would be awkward. He should call William and Mary. They could both show up and play.
Nickname for Howard?
Bison?
I think that's right.
Is that right?
That's right.
Well, now that would indicate there's more Buffalo than just Howard, right?
Can you move on to the NFL wild card?
Is Bison singular and plural? So yet the mystery continues.
Right. I don't know about Bices.
It may be just Howard. Very cool, though, for Notre Dame to be playing in HBCU on Dr. King Day. Pacers in L.A. taking on the Clippers. That is a 3:30 start. That game can be heard here on this station against L.A. And as you had mentioned, the Lakers play tonight as well, right?
Yeah, Scotty texted me a little bit earlier about Lakers and Jazz tonight. So what's that, about a 7-hour difference from tip times there for the Clippers and Lakers. And by the way, the Clippers, they're not very good. They are 21-23. They've lost 11 of 16. Paul George, right elbow, torn tendon, I think in late December, so he is still on the mend for them.
Kawhi Leonard's still out, too.
Right.
So their main pieces are not there.
Still out. But this Pacers Western trip, it is Clippers, Lakers, Warriors. Lakers, Warriors, that's a Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back. The Suns again, and then the Pelicans a week from today. And to me, this is like the last big... This is like senior year spring break for this Pacers team.
Totally bummed I was, by the way, Kevin. No Bismack Biyombo Friday night at the Fieldhouse.
Oh, boy.
I was yelling for it.
Man, that's...
I even told Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder was checking in the game. I go, hey, Jay. And it was real quiet, so we kind of make eye contact. I go, hey, can you tell them to put in Bismack, please? Like, that's my guy.
He was there but didn't get in.
Correct.
Gotcha.
DNP CD.
A picture? Did you get a sweatband after the game? Anything?
I got nothing. Nothing at all. Speaking of there but not playing, Butler last night in Philadelphia, 82-42 Villanova all over the Dogs. Butler falls to 9-7.
That's pathetic.
One bit of racing news as today's IndyCar Content Day. That's a fancy way of saying Media Day. But the big announcement that came earlier today, Tatiana Calderon, the Colombian female driver, will drive for AJ Foyt this year for all road and street course races in car number 11. That ride was vacated by Sebastian Bourdais. That announcement earlier this morning. She most recently drove Super Formulas in Japan, which is a pretty good series. She also was a test driver for Alfa Romeo in Formula One. So she will be in all road and streets coming up here in just a couple of weeks when we get down to St. Pete to start off the season.
One more wild card game tonight. That is the Rams hosting the Cardinals. That is also a Manning cast. Have we seen a guest list for the Manning cast yet?
The Rock is the one that they've announced so far. Dwayne Johnson going to be on tonight.
Why?
I don't know.
Because he's the Rock.
He's the Rock. What do you mean the most electrifying man in sports entertainment?
I mean, usually Rams and Cardinals affiliations.
What, do you want Vince Ferragamo?
Yeah, I guess there's not a whole lot there.
Is there anyone you would like to see today that you...
No, I frankly just want Peyton and Eli to talk.
I mean, they sent out a big promo. They got Rock highlights in here. They've got Peyton, Eli, and the Rock wearing his famous black turtleneck with gold chain.
Is Warren Beatty still alive?
I believe so.
They could have him. Wasn't he the one from Heaven Can Wait where he was a Ram quarterback?
Yeah, there aren't many Cardinal fans, right?
How about that? Actually, this is a game of two fictional movies. I guess all movies are fictional for the most part, but Rod Tidwell and then whoever the quarterback was for the Rams in Heaven Can Wait, you got both of them covered there, right?
Tidwell. What's their ownership's name? Is it Bidwell?
Bill Bidwell.
Bidwell, yeah. for the Cardinals ownership. Who do you like in that one? Rams, Cardinals. Rams favored by 4. I know we picked that on Friday's show. I think I had the Rams 30-23.
I think I also picked the Rams.
We had a clean sweep on the Rams. Kevin, if the Rams win, you and I are a perfect 6-0 in wild card games.
Yeah, I saw that. 49ers.
What's the difference between a ram and a sheep? Are all sheep rams? Or no, I'm sorry, all rams are sheep?
The rams have kind of horn.
Yeah, like are sheep's just like male? Are rams just male sheep? Do we know? Do you know, Mark? Can we look this up?
No, I don't know.
Again, you're the one in college right now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You need to be filling us in
Scotty,
on this stuff.
what are you saying there? Rams and ewes. Okay, well, what is a ewe a ram?
Ewe is a sheep, female sheep.
A ewe is a female sheep and a ram is a male sheep, and they're both sheep?
The winner
it's like
of
the chicken and the rooster. Who goes with the hen?
Winner of Rams Cardinals tonight will round out our divisional slate of games coming up this weekend. The winner will be at Tampa Bay on Sunday. That's a 3:00 game. Buffalo, Kansas City, which I think is the marquee of the 4 divisional matchups. That is the nightcap on Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. The Saturday game, Cincinnati at Tennessee. Tennessee favored by 3.5. And Green Bay hosting San Francisco. Green Bay 4.5-point favorite. Those teams met in the regular season, and Green Bay won 30-28 back in September.
What about a lamb? Is that just a baby sheep? Is that what that is? How does Scotty know this?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Is there a farming course you can take?
Yeah, jeez. I know. Could you have done like IU Kokomo, Jake, and got like a little bit more of a farming angle?
Actually, that's close to Peru, where they actually do Tipton, the Tipton County Pork Festival. They have a class on that. I'm taking that too.
Peru. We did have Jeremiah Johnson on earlier, speaking of Peru. So if you missed that, check out the podcast. And Jeff Saturday in about 15 minutes here as well. All right, Mark, we're giving away Indy Fuel tickets, you said?
Indy Fuel tickets all week long. They're for Saturday night's game. It's called Blackhawks Night. So an anthem singer, Jim Cornelison, will be there.
Oh, yeah.
PA voice, Gene Honda. Jim Cornelison will actually join us on Friday. But all week, tickets to the game.
I love it. So that is, you said Saturday night?
Correct.
Saturday night again.
This is fascinating. I didn't realize
Jim
this.
Cornelison
It says here
later.
that 98% of all sheep are vaccinated. I didn't know that.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Boy. This is where I can just head home and nap for the day.
I know we get holiday pay today. I'm going to ask for a raise, though.
Can we get Greg Doyle and Jake Query to round out
I'm
the
just giving the
final
people what they want. I'm just giving the
half
people what they
hour
want.
of the show. 317-239-1070. Pop quiz time coming up next. Give us a ring, please.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Save $100 instantly on select sets of 4 tires from Hankook, Toyo, Continental, Nitto, General, Pirelli, Goodyear, and Nexen. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Shop Mattress Firm's new bed, new used sale, and shop select beds starting at $159.99. Plus, in-stock items even get immediate delivery.
When it comes to working at Geico, our best advocates are our employees, like Janet. But since she is so focused on growing her career, we hired an actor to read her story.
At Geico, we really help each other. If anything comes up, we work through it as a group, so we all learn.
As a full-time employee, she can also get paid benefits like medical, dental, vision, and parental leave. She even got a plaque for her desk that says, "I'm kind of a big deal." Yeah, you are, Janet.
Ready to start your career, Indy? We're hiring claim sales and service agents. Apply online today at geico.job/Indy.
If you haven't been fueling your football season with action on PropSwap, you are missing out. I'm Kevin Bowen, and this football season has brought about some awesome opportunities to cash in. For those unfamiliar, PropSwap is the only place in Indiana where you can buy and sell sports props. When you look at college football, you had a couple of teams with extremely long odds make a run to the playoff. If you had purchased a ticket for one of those teams at the start of the year, you've had a huge opportunity to make money, even though that team didn't win at all. And that's the great thing about PropSwap. You don't have to see your prop play all the way out to make money. You can buy or sell props at any point during a season or game. Look at the NFL as well. Several teams got on late season runs to make the postseason. Well, if you pounced on the chance to purchase a playoff or Super Bowl ticket for one of those teams, you would have a chance to win on PropSwap. Football's not the only sport filled with action either on PropSwap. Plenty of basketball and baseball tickets available. Plus, weekly golf is here again, and that's something I love. So head to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app today.
A while back, we at AmericanEagle.com were asked to build the e-commerce site of a major candy distributor. With the need for a website that could take into account everything from shipping times to local weather, because, candy melts, the task was not like taking candy from a baby. Fortunately, we live for a good digital challenge and free bonbons.
So we got to work on a slew of complex integrations, including a shipping algorithm that factored in variables like distance, speed, and location. The website even let the end customer personalize their candy for special events, like weddings or, major website launches. When all was said and done, our client enjoyed a significant increase in traffic, which we were also well prepared for, and an increase in average order size. A sweet result indeed. For complex e-commerce sites, digital marketing, UX, and more, talk to the experts at AmericanEagle.com. Don't just grow, soar.
This May, it's time to come back together again. Back to the spectacle. Back home again. Buy your tickets now and save.
This is your chance to experience everything May has to offer at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Opening weekend shifts the month of May into high gear.
Be there for the GMR Grand Prix, Indy 500 qualifying, Bump Day,
And the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gainbridge, May 29.
Get your tickets now before prices go up and come back home again. Tickets and info at ims.com.
Dan Dakich lays some knowledge.
Chris Ballard's just talking. We won't make excuses why we got our ass beat in Jacksonville. That's what happened. We got our ass beat. We're a 9-8 team. That falls on me. That's what Ballard's saying. Watch all these guys praise Ballard for being up front. There are winners, there are losers, and there are survivors. And Chris Ballard is a survivor.
Dan Dakich, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. Have you studied? Can you handle the pressure? Sharpen your pencils. It's time for the Pop Quiz with Kevin and Query. Brought to you by Jiffy Lube, Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
All right, 5:30, Jeff Saturday replay coming up next. But Kevin, it is quiz time, right?
It is indeed quiz time. Indy Fuel tickets given away, win or lose.
So the Fuel is a great family experience, quite frankly. I think they do a great job for young kids and Nitro running around, and it's a fun place.
Always love being in that venue as well. 317-239-1070. This pop quiz, I think, would fall in the difficult category from Scotty J today.
Really?
I think so.
Okay. There are a couple of familiar names on here, right? Including two coaches that faced each other in the 1981 National Championship game in college basketball. Who's picking the caller?
Do you want to?
Sure. I'll go with number 2.
Harley.
Harley. Good morning, Harley.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Harley, do you own a motorcycle?
No. That's the first time I've ever been heard that, man.
I'll bet.
Gosh.
Just out of curiosity, Harley, whereabout did you grow up?
In Ohio, in a little town. It's called Beloit. Yeah.
Beloit, Ohio. Are you a Buckeye fan?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Mount Union College, Division 3?
Yeah, that's
where Pierre Garçon.
Pierre Garçon went there, right?
Kind of like an NFL coaching pipeline, right?
Yeah, the Caris. Absolutely.
Now, Harley, what was the name of the gal that led you to Indianapolis?
There was no gal. My dad's from here, so
that's cool.
I just came here.
Okay, fair enough. All right, here we go for question number 1. Speaking of your hometown of Ohio, or your home state of Ohio, the Cincinnati Bengals knocked off the Raiders Saturday in the playoffs, of course. Who was the last Bengal head coach that also coached in Indiana for a year to win a playoff game before this past weekend? A, Marvin Lewis. B, Forrest Gregg. C, Sam Weich. D, Bruce Coslett.
Oh, I have no idea. We'll go with C. Sounds good.
Okay, Sam Weich.
Harley, boy, if Jake can guess like that on his test this semester,
That's
he'll
right.
be in good shape. All right, number 2, Jalen Hurts, the 28th different quarterback Tom Brady has beaten in the playoffs. That is just a wild number. Who is in second place, having defeated 15 different quarterbacks in the postseason? Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Bart Starr, or Brett Favre?
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
I'm going to have to go with Brett Favre.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have. I kind of led him down that path. Sorry.
That's all right.
On this day in 1971, Harley, the Baltimore Colts defeated the Dallas Cowboys 16-13 in Super Bowl V in Miami. Who was the MVP of Super Bowl V and still to this day the only player on the losing team to win Super Bowl MVP honors? Was it A, Jim O'Brien, not the meteorologist and former Pacer coach? B, Earl Morrall. C, Mike Curtis. Or D, Chuck Howley? Chuck Howley.
B, sure.
Okay.
B, you going with Earl Morrall?
Okay.
Sounds better than, yeah.
Get your damn act together.
All right. This is a Dak Prescott, spiking the ball situation here. Big Ben Roethlisberger, just the third quarterback since 1950 to make a playoff start as a rookie and in his final season. To pour salt into the wounds of Colts fans, can you name one of the other two?
Tom Brady.
Okay.
Tom Brady's still playing, so he hasn't had his final season yet.
Yeah, we're hoping so.
That's a good point.
Any other guesses, Harley?
And
salt in the wounds. We saw this guy
Hold
with a porn mustache on TV the other week.
The Colts.
Andrew Luck.
Never heard it. Sure, Andrew Luck.
Okay.
All right.
Lastly, former University of Kentucky basketball coach Joe B. Hall passed away last week at the age of 93. Joe B. Hall of Kentucky passing away. He is one of only 3 coaches to have won a national championship, both as a player and a coach. The other 2, one of them as a player did it at Kansas and as a coach at North Carolina. The other as a player did it at Ohio State and as a coach at Indiana. Name one of those 2 men.
Bob Knight. I don't know.
Okay. Bob Knight. All right.
Thank God these tickets are free. Man.
Finally.
Mark is angry.
Finally, the ball was spiked there with maybe a little bit of time on the clock. All right, Jake, number 1, the Bengals head coach, last time they won a playoff game, Harley pulled this out of thin air.
He coached in Indiana. He tried to change their colors and logo. It is Sam Wyche.
That is correct.
Question number 2, Jalen Hurts, the 28th quarterback Tom Brady has defeated. Second most in terms of quarterbacks defeating another quarterback, even though it's the entire team that plays. Joe Montana was the correct answer, which is A.
You blew it!
Bob. Right. Stay in the line, Harley.
You don't get to come back tomorrow. You don't even get a lousy copy of
Marino and Andrew Luck.
You're
number 4,
complete
Bob
loser.
Knight and Dean Smith.
In my opinion, that sucked.
That did indeed.
Chuck
right?
Howley.
Oh, sorry. I forgot.
MVP, Super Bowl 5. How many franchises do you think don't even have 28 playoff wins?
Oh, boy. A lot, right?
Like, how many franchises does Tom Brady have more playoff wins than?
I would think a lot. The Jaguars, the Texans, probably the Titans.
A ton.
I mean, yeah. Hell, the Lions. I mean, the Lions probably over the course of the years have accumulated 28, but.
Wild. All right, we come back here on Kevin and Query. Jeff Saturday. We'll replay that interview for you and preview tomorrow's show. You're listening right here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains. Co-owner Dave Machine says deciding whether or not to replace that old furnace is a simple math problem.
If you have an 80% furnace, that means that 80 cents of every dollar is heating your home and 20 cents of every dollar is going out to flue pipe. We have furnaces up to 97% efficient, which means 97 cents of every dollar heats your home, only 3 cents of every dollar goes out to flue pipe.
Start saving now with your new furnace from American Standard from B&W, your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
This ad for Hellsberg Diamonds has been specifically written for those who'd rather think about football than engagement rings. When free agency starts, your team wants to get the best players they can without spending too much. If your team is you and the players are engagement rings, then your best bet in free agency is shopping at Hellsberg Diamonds, where you know you'll get the highest quality diamonds at prices that keep you from going over the salary cap. Visit your local Hellsberg store and ask about our price match guarantee, or check us out at hellsberg.com.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for their e-club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Signing up is easy. Visit TwinPeaksRestaurant.com/Peaks-Club. Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views. The Madhouse on Madison returns
returns to Indianapolis this Saturday night as the Fuel celebrate their NHL affiliate, the Chicago Blackhawks. Blackhawks anthem singer Jim Cornelison will be in attendance with special Blackhawks giveaways throughout the game. Make this Saturday night special. Put on your favorite Blackhawks jersey and cheer the Fuel as they battle the Kalamazoo Wings at 7 p.m. Get tickets now for Blackhawks night at IndyFuelHockey.com. That's IndyFuelHockey.com. Indy Fuel Hockey. Come for the experience, stay for the game.
It isn't a game.
It's not a game.
Not a game.
Not a game.
It's real.
It's real.
Es real.
It's real.
It's human trafficking. It's happening right here in Indiana, and we can't ignore it. Over 90% of trafficking occurs by someone the individual knows. Employers, family, friends, partners. It's not just physical abuse, but would you know the signs if they were right in front of you? Learn the myths and facts about the Indiana epidemic we never talk about. Go to seeandfreein.com.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight guaranteed, only $49.99. Hypnosis to destroy unwanted cravings. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick. Lose your desire to smoke or your money back. Seminars are selling out fast. Limited weight loss seats available Thursday, January 20th at the Holiday Inn in Carmel, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminars Thursday, January 20th, 8 to 10 p.m. at the Holiday Inn in Carmel, and Saturday, January 22nd, 2 to 4 p.m. at the La Quinta Inn and Suites in Indianapolis. Registration begins 30 minutes before seminar.
A new year comes with new excitement, new ambitions, new milestones. Is this the year you pop the question, have a child? Celebrate a major anniversary. At Diamonds Direct, we're here for you, now more than ever. With our vast selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds, our world-renowned designer jewelry collections, our industry-leading warranties and guarantees, and our people. People with a passion for helping you mark any occasion with something that's both meaningful and timeless. And our commitment to providing exceptional value is stronger than ever in the new year. Whether you're just starting out on a tight budget or whether you're splurging on that 30th anniversary gift, Diamonds Direct will make sure you get the price that you expect from America's premier direct diamond importer. Welcome to a new year and welcome to Diamonds Direct, where extreme value combines with the ultimate luxury shopping experience to create that truly magical moment for the milestones in your life. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion. Official jeweler of the Indianapolis Colts, Keystone at the Crossing.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan. You're listening to Kevin and Query on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Courtesy of More Restoration, first on site, new name, same great people. Jeff Saturday joined us earlier in the program. Began the conversation by me asking him, simply put, wild card weekends in the books. What, if anything, most surprised number 63?
Probably the way the Buffalo beat the Patriots. I mean, just convincingly manner they did. I mean, I picked that to be a win. I did not think it was going to be that lopsided of a football game. And that physically, I think that's the part that probably surprised me the most, was that physically, that they were as set apart than as they were. It was an amazing game. I thought Josh Allen put that team on his back and made some incredible plays. But they also, would hand it to Singletary and physically go down and run downhill at him. So that was probably my biggest surprise of the weekend.
Jeff, I would say probably the most talked about game right now is Dallas and San Francisco and what happened at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw your former teammate Jacob Tamme's tweet, but Tamme tweeted after the game yesterday, Tom Moore's number one rule of 2-minute drill, and I only heard it about 7 million billion times, at the end of every play, in all caps, hand the ball to the umpire. I'm going to guess you heard that a few times in your day?
maybe once or twice in my life have I heard that. No, absolutely. There's no, the whole, don't throw it to them. They can't catch. All the different things that he said. He had some great ones now, and he still does down in Tampa. But man, there's no doubt you have to get that ball in the hands of the official. They have to place it to spot it. And one of those things that you just, the funny part about that is when you're running 2 minutes, so often the play ends with a receiver, tight end, or running back that you really drill those things in their head. Very rarely does it ever talk about the quarterback being in that position with the alert down, right? So he's probably accustomed to just handing it back to the center, the center does, he's trying to spot the ball, thinking that the ball can, be wherever he's down. But yeah, there is a protocol for the way you sit it and do it, and one of those things, they didn't execute it, man. That's the bottom line. They didn't do what they have to do, and ultimately it led to the end of the game in that way.
We were discussing this earlier, Jeff Saturday, our guest, but you would be the perfect person to ask because you were in these situations. In those moments, I mean, obviously one would assume, every professional team, by the time you get to that point, you have practiced those scenarios and those situations and gone over it a million times. But all hell is breaking loose, right? I mean, I'm watching it on television and it's chaotic. What is it that separates some players from others in terms of being able to just navigate through that? And is it unfair to assume that Dak Prescott didn't know what to do and rather just simply say, he probably just got lost in the insane moments of everything happening?
Oh man, it could definitely be a both and. Yeah. I'm sure when they're practicing it, they talk about it and they do it. But when we in Indy, we would have referees at our practice, and you would practice doing that. I mean, or someone from the equipment staff would pretending to be the referee who's the spotter, so you would run the ball to them. But I think to me, it's more of a, you drilled it so much that it's just habitual, and that this is just in your head, it's ingrained. This is what we do. This is how we do it, so that those moments don't happen that way. But I'm sure they have discussed it. I'm sure if you ask Dak, to your point, when everybody's sitting in a meeting, what it should look like. But it's got to be one of those things that if you're going to have that play in, and you would think that play they had practiced the entire season, not just, not just this week as they're leading in. But even like the distance that he tried to run, like all of those things they're very precise. If you had 14 seconds left, you have 16 seconds left. You talk about those things. Hey, you can run a typical 5 yards, and you got to get down. That's as far as you can go. Even when you're running like alert downs, where you're running, trying to get out of bounds. It's if you don't get out of bounds, how fast do we have to get? How quick can we get it spotted? All of those things, like you go through those situations. And so, it could be that he did get overwhelmed at the moment. No one's going to know. I mean, no one's going to own that at this point. It's just a matter of, they're going to say, hey, we just didn't execute it quite well enough. But those will be things that they talk about and as coaching points, I guarantee you, through next year and the years after.
Yeah, I thought with 14 seconds to go, just take a couple shots at the end zone. The referee crew had thrown, I think, 23 penalties in the game. Clearly was a flag-happy crew. You never know what could have happened then. Jeff Saturday via More Restoration is with us here on Kevin and Query. Okay, looking ahead to Saturday and Sunday. I know we got one more game tonight, Jeff, but Bengals at Titans, Packers hosting the 49ers, either the Rams or Cardinals traveling to Tampa Bay, and then Buffalo at Kansas City, the divisional game that you have your most attention on, you think will be what?
Probably that Buffalo KC game, man. I mean, two teams that are playing well offensively. They're putting up points. Defenses have kind of stepped up and played good. I think, man, this is going to be a fun game to watch, So I think that's the one I'm probably most excited to watch. I just think that, when you think about how well Buffalo played, but now they have to travel to KC. Can KC start fast, right? Like you're playing Buffalo now. If they get down 14, this isn't the same, this isn't the same Patrick Mahomes kind of explosive offense that we've seen. If a team can play back and not be aggressive, if Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator for Buffalo, can stay, in a too high shell and make them, check down the entire time, what does that look like? There's just so many things, so many little stories within the story of that game that I'm probably most excited to watch.
Jeff Saturday's our guest. He is on the Payless Liquors guest line, courtesy of More Restoration. Jeff, you played for Jim Irsay. You've been around Jim Irsay a lot. I'm going under the assumption that you saw Jim Irsay's comments in the video that he released standing next to his jet that was fired up. But in those comments, in case you didn't see it, he basically said, look, we're disappointed, and moving forward, unless you have all chips in, in the building, like, we don't want you around. Now, to me, that kind of sounds like owner speak. I mean, I'm thinking, well, yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be the case for every owner in the NFL? But you being around him, was this a different Jim Irsay than one that you have seen and been around in the past?
Yeah, and I think it's a frustrated Jim Irsay. So no, I mean, I've been on teams where we've definitely let it down, didn't do what the expectations were or whatever. Had some rough days for sure. And so yeah, I think from an owner perspective, he has every right to be feeling the way he's feeling. I don't understand everything exactly as he said it, what he was referring to, but I think from a team perspective, they're going to look inward. You heard the comments leading up, Frank in the week and then Chris later in the week. And I think all of them sound like they're on the exact same page. They don't know exactly what their team's going to look like. They're going to make sure they put the best thing out there. And the one thing about Jim, he wants to win. Like, he knows the game of football. This guy, he cares about winning. That's first and foremost. And so if he doesn't feel like he's given his team, his players, and his organization the best chance to win, he's going to make a change. And so whether that's hey, what does all in mean? I'm sure they're going to clarify that to the players who are in the building. We may never know, but you can tell he's definitely chapped. And wants everybody to understand, this isn't acceptable, and he's going to get this thing fixed. And I think from a fan's perspective, you appreciate it. And let's can't do nothing about it now. Let's look at 2022 and how can we be a better football team, and let's move in that direction.
Okay, so two-part question here, Jeff Saturday. The first, do you believe Carson Wentz will be an Indianapolis Colt next season? And the other half of that is, do you believe that Jim Irsay wants him to be?
It's hard for me because I'm not, I think from Chris's perspective and Frank's perspective and Jim's perspective, it's not just did he play well enough. It's, what else is out there? What can we afford to do from a cap perspective? I mean, there's a lot to that. You know what I mean? I mean, y'all heard my statements about the way I thought he played this season, and saying that I didn't think he had done enough in the major moment. But that doesn't mean, that you can make a change because you don't. I mean, I have no idea what's there. I mean, I wish I could tell you I've studied what the QB market's going to look like. I'm not there yet. As I'm still watching games, it's who's going to be there, what can be, and I think from or when you say, well, Jim, does he want him there? I would say the same answer really is. Not if he's not going to play in the big moments. That's why you trade a first and third, and I think that's what we gave, right? A first and third, and you give those things because you think that guy's going to take you to the show. So show him in the Super Bowl, obviously, and so if he doesn't feel like he's the guy, he would definitely move on. I don't think he's a guy who would mix those words. But again, man, it's I've told people this in my entire career. It's, when people talk about, oh, man, you got to fire somebody or do this, if you fire them, who are you hiring? And so I've said what I thought about Carson Wentz and his performance this season and was disappointed in it, but that doesn't mean that, he's not going to be there. And if he is there, he's got to be the guy. Like, you got to go coach the guys that are there. And so that's the part that's always hard in the NFL, man. It's not, you can't out-recruit them. You know what I mean? There's not you wish there were a transfer portal. I'm sure if you're a coach or a general manager where guys could just, but good quarterbacks don't hit that market very often. And so it's going to be one of those things you got to find out, who you think could give you the best chance. And if that's still Carson Wentz, then he'll still be there.
Again, that was Jeff Saturday with us earlier, courtesy of More Restoration. Mark will have that up on the podcast here shortly. And Jake, it kind of seems like that's where we're at right now. The only thing holding back this marriage from ending after 1 year is there another prospect that I would like to marry or date or whatever?
He makes a really good point about the transfer portal, right? I mean, we all sit here and say, like, well, Russell Wilson, next quarterback. Derek Carr, next quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo. Look, I mean, it takes two to tango, and there are other teams that are interested in these players as well, right?
And we haven't heard anything from, let's just take the Wilson and Carr situations. We haven't heard anything on, I mean, right now, Seattle's keeping Pete Carroll. I mean, you would think if you're holding on to Carroll, you'd kind of let Wilson ride off into the sunset with him, or at least try to say that 2021 was an anomaly for them. The Raiders don't have this young QB on your roster that you're ready to hand the reins over to. I keep on going back to the Ballard presser last week, Jake, in which I thought the most damning comment he made about Wentz wasn't the layup comment or the he did some good and he's got a lot to improve on. All that is, speaks for itself. But the fact that Ballard seems content with his wideout group, doesn't feel like that position needs an upgrade, Jake. Like, he is not and I can trust me, I disagree wholeheartedly with that. But the fact that the GM does not think the wide receiver position was that big of an issue, if an issue at all, this past year, what does that say about his thoughts on Carson Wentz?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, well, that's a really good point. First off, it's chicken and egg, right? Were the receivers not great for the quarterback, or was the quarterback not putting the ball where the receivers need it? You probably debate that till the cows come home.
I think it's both. I mean, a little both.
I just think that I don't know what Chris Ballard's thought is on Carson Wentz. I know what Frank Reich's thoughts have been on Carson Wentz. And I feel like if you're Frank Reich, you probably need to start being open-minded towards changing your tune or being a little more open-minded to the fact that he may not be the guy, because it appears to me the owner, and quite frankly, possibly the general manager, are assessing whether or not he's the guy. And I think Frank Reich thinks he's the guy. Now, my buddy Adam Abdul said, look, if you're the Colts, do you trade Carson Wentz out and get in draft capital and then go out and sign, of course, Nick Foles, he says. Rebuild, and he did say,
what would you
admittedly,
get for
that
Carson
is a rebuild.
Wentz? What would you gave up a first and a third for him? What would you get?
Third and a fifth. Right?
Man.
I don't think you're getting a third.
You may not, yeah.
You talk about a kick in the...
I mean,
SW said Russell Wilson has a trade clause. He's not coming to Indy. He wants a bigger market. You don't think Sierra wants to come to Indy?
Well, Russell Wilson's cap hit, too, for Seattle is massive. Like, it's a $26 million dead cap hit. So,
Seattle have to eat?
Yeah. So there you go right there.
Gosh, you would think if they do execute a trade, the team that receives him would have to take on some of that. Jake, it is the afternoon filled with sports, if you want, right?
That is correct. Purdue and Illinois coming up at noon. Indiana, Nebraska at what time is that? 2:30? Or no, 6 o'clock.
6,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, our coverage begins over at WIBC at 5. Our coverage right here of the Pacers and Clippers begins at 3. So no J&B today. Pacers and Clippers tip off at 3:30. Purdue is a 1.5-point underdog at Illinois.
Really?
Indiana favored by 9 over
Have you been to the
Nebraska.
Beef House on the way to Champaign?
I have not, but I've heard some
Mark, have you been?
great things.
I have not been there, no.
Scotty, you been? Yes. It's a good place. It definitely feels like an older... It's like MCL meets Fogo de Chao or Fogo de Chan or however
So if you
say it.
dangle a trip... If Matt Painter wants to motivate Travion Williams and Zach Edey...
They
if he
supposedly
dangles
used to stop there as a team.
Really?
Yeah, when they would go to and from. Indiana might have as well. I don't know.
That's going to be a fun matchup. Kofi Coburn against those big
it'd be
guys.
a good game. It's a good game. That's a fun. You been to Assembly Hall in Champaign?
No.
It's a cool place.
Spaceship, right?
It is a spaceship. It is definitely a spaceship.
The last unbeaten Big Ten team, 6-0, the Fighting Illini. Indiana, of course, looking for their first Big Ten road win of the season. And then the Hoosiers will host the Boilermakers. By the way, I didn't watch it, but it sounded like a great Indiana-Purdue women's game yesterday.
Correct.
Indiana coming back and beating Purdue in West Lafayette. Indiana having a great season this year again. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll get into a little bit of the Kurt Warner thoughts on Carson Wentz. Still hoping to have Kurt Warner on at some point this week. Enjoy tonight, Arizona and the Rams. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 7 a.m. Kevin Bowe and Jake Query.
The Ride with